stuff will make you a goddamn sexual tyrannosaurus. Just like me.
There we go.
This stuff will make you a goddamn sexual tyrannosaurus.
Hey everybody, welcome once again. Welcome once again to our pit of misogyny and misinformation. We're so misogynistic, we're men stepping on each other. That's essentially what's happening, guys. We have a great group of guests here today for this episode of Access Vegas. Jake the Snake. Yes, Jake. Yeah. Welcome to the show. This is the first time you've been on here with us.
My debut. Thank you for having me.
Exactly.
Welcome.
Awesome. And then Andrew Wilson. Welcome. She's visiting us here in Las Vegas.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on, guys. I appreciate it. We had a killer interview earlier today. When's that going to be released?
Tuesday.
Tuesday, 10 a.m. I recommend everybody, the Crucible audience, take a look at that. It was really good. I got to get very in depth into a lot of views I have. So.
I love it. It was great. And then Rollo is here.
Yes.
And Rollo,
author of six Rational
books.
Male books.
And you guys will notice Rollo is dressed as Rollo this time instead of me being dressed as Rollo and Rollo being dressed as an alien last year.
That
last
was
week.
Amazing.
That was incredible.
Cheap ass didn't give me a free copy though. I got
one. I will go get it for you, right? I'll go get it right now.
Yeah. Times are tough. The economy is shitty.
It's rough.
Yes, you can't get out there. You want me to sign this too?
One for cost.
Miguel, we got Miguel coming back on the show. How you doing, Miguel?
Doing good. Vegas is failing, brother.
Yeah, Vegas. Please bring that up because I do want to talk about that. I have some theories on that. And then Charlie, welcome back, man. Good to have you back, man.
Yeah, everything's going good, and crypto is about the same as Vegas.
It's a psyop. Is that what you're saying?
Well, everybody's like, "Oh no, it's over. Everything's going down to zero." Right? Vegas is failing.
Speak for yourselves, boys. We had an absolute massive night on the pokies last night.
Oh, really?
Exactly right. And so, right now is the time to be getting into it, basically. So everything's great.
For those of you who don't remember, with the Wes Watson thing. You were up there with me.
Oh yeah, we were both.
I do remember that.
Yeah, you guys were up there with
flanking
me.
you guys.
Yeah,
I was right next to you.
Nobody ever remembers that part.
No one remembers anyone else being there. Myron was on stage. I don't even remember.
They were there. They got the front row seat, so it was nice. It was nice coming in and seeing them. I was like, man, it's been a long time.
Just to let everybody know in the chat, Myron is on his way right now. He's in an Uber and he's on his way to the studio right this very second. So just be patient.
Gee, late.
Yeah.
Playing into the stereotype.
On his way. He is on his way. So just back the fuck up in the chat. I'm gonna watch all you guys in the chat today. I really will. Today will be the day I watch everything.
Not beating the charges.
Terrible.
Fire alarm noise.
Terribly racist. Chirp. Did you say chirp? He said chirp.
He's on Las Vegas time. Yeah, chirp.
Incredible. Andrew, something you're involved with. I've heard of it before, but I've never been to a debate con. You got that coming up here pretty soon?
Yeah, I really appreciate you bringing that up. So we have Debate Con that's going on starting November 15th. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Jake will be there. He'll be doing a high-profile debate against an idiot named Planet Peterson. I'll be on there taking on two debates with Richard Carrier, Daniel Kakikachu, so a famous Muslim, and a famous secular humanist back-to-back. It's going to be a great time. We have a massive party set up Saturday for ticket holders. We rented out the entire top floor of a bar. We're going to have an open bar for all the ticket holders. Drink as much as they want. They can eat as much as they want. It's all for the Crucible crew. So, we're out here on our trip. We're going to promote DebateCon.
What city?
That's going to be happening in Nashville.
Okay.
Yep, in Nashville, Tennessee. So it's going to be a great time. Strongly suggest there's still some tickets left that you guys get them because it's a huge lineup there. Jake's going to be there. Jim Bob's going to be there. Rob Knorr's going to be there.
Rachel Wilson.
Rachel Wilson's going to be there. A ton of creators are showing up. In fact, I think Myron might be out there, they were saying. So hard to say how many people are going to be at, but it's going to be a massive event. So I strongly suggest you guys get.
And you'll drink your money back. You'll make your money back.
What would be great is the debates after you drink. You drink all you can and then start having debates.
I'm gonna keep it cool before the debate. Then afterwards, we're gonna have a party.
Australia's not real.
The main thing, yeah, that's right. The main thing
debate
that I wanted to focus on was taking a most of the revenue from the ticket sales to have a giant party for my community.
Yeah.
You know, for my community to show them, you know, thank you guys for all the great support and this type of thing. So we organized a massive party outside of DebateCon, and we're just going to take over DebateCon. That's just like a real life TikTok invasion. So I hope to see everybody there.
There you go. Can we turn Andrew up a little bit in the game for his mic? That'd be good.
Beautiful. Rollo,
what are you gonna what do you like? So it's DebateCon. Do you know what the topics are? Like, what's the?
Oh yeah,
like
yeah.
I mean,
they're all listed. You can go to Modern Day Debate if you want to get.
What are
tickets.
you gonna talk? What are you gonna talk?
Well, I'm debating if Islam or Christianity is better for society, and the next day against Richard Carrier, it's if secular humanism or Christianity is better for society. So, yeah, those.
So
are
lightweight stuff like that.
Yeah, lightweight stuff. Yeah, and these are brutal debaters. Kikikachu has been in the debate sphere for a long time. Carrier's written 15 different books on the topic. He's a super genius, so I can't wait to tangle up with him. It's going to be a great time. And Jim Bob's debating out there. Jake Julius, he's debating out there. Tons of big debates that are going on there back to back. There's going to be inspiring philosophy out there, phenomenal Christian apologists. So I'm looking forward to seeing everybody out there.
Rachel Wilson's doing a feminism debate.
Yeah, with
mine's
Greg.
the same secular humanism, but Rachel Wilson's going to just
the feminism debate's going to be great to see the wife up there doing that.
So. And are there going to be like panels and stuff, or is it just going to be like
1v1, man?
1v1,
yeah, 1v1. It's all day for 2 straight.
Seems
days.
like an arm wrestling tournament,
right?
You know? They sit right across from each
Well,
other.
it is. I mean, it is a tournament, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's exactly what it is. But at least this way. We can leverage the fact that I was going to go to DebateCon anyway to have a giant party with our community. So that's the main thing, right? I want to have the giant party with the community and show up to the debate. I swear I've never debated one time at DebateCon where I wasn't hungover, and I'm just not going to break that tradition. I just refuse.
You did mention before people don't really debate now, or they don't understand the concept of debate. You've had ones that are degenerate into name calling and stuff like that, and the art of it is lost because, like you said before, you're generally not trying to convince the person across from you of your viewpoint, but the audience that's watching.
Yeah, the audience is what matters more than anything. It's nice if you can convince the person across from you too, but it's not really the goal. So like an example of this, in this very studio at this very table, 2 nights ago, I was debating with that was what, last night?
2 nights ago.
2 nights ago. Okay. Yeah. Debating with a complete fucking idiot.
And the chat is going nuts right now.
Who didn't know. I mean, this guy didn't know anything, and he was just an incoherent, babbling mess. And what happens is they get in their emotions. They start filibustering. They don't know what to say. Right. Debate is about structured arguments for propositions and determining whether the proposition is true or false based on those arguments. And it's like, look, that is an art form that's going by the wayside, which is incredible considering that the war of our time is an information war, not a physical one. And debate is the best weapon you have in it. And so many people are so bad at it. And it's definitely a tool you need, which is also a shameless plug for Debate University. So you need to go over there and get my debate course immediately because it's awesome. So shameless plug there as well.
And oftentimes the more mainstream you go, the worse they get at debating. Like probably, I've never seen you guys debate, but all 4 of us would just absolutely take any mainstream news anchor to school
right away.
Well, one of the problems I have like with calling debate right now is like it's something different than what classical debate is.
Sure.
Right? Like classic debate was take a subject, take a phenomenon, take a dynamic, whatever it is, and then you have 1 for and 1 against, and you're debating whether or not that thing is true or it's false, right? It's not about I'm going to make my opponent look bad or whatever. It's not, I mean, that's why we have like logical fallacies in like classical, like logic and debate and stuff. So if you ever take if you're on a debate team in college or something like that, or you just take classic logic classes, you're going to learn about logical fallacies and things like that. And the reason why those were kind of drawn out as sort of like no-nos, like against the rules kind of thing. Like you attack the subject, you don't attack the person, right? We all know what an ad hom is. Ad hominem, it's just, calling you're an asshole, fuck you, but the reason why we have those, or we've identified those, is because it distracts from getting down, boring down to the point and finding all the details and finding all the stats itself, and everything. Yeah, exactly. And then you've got modern debate, which is this good or bad? Is this a good practice or is this a bad practice? And then it's convincing the audience at that point.
Well, it's interesting. There's nothing new under the sun, right? If you go back to Socrates and Plato, they were the original blood sport debaters, and they actually were in the street humiliating people. And that's where the idea of the sophist came from, is a certain type of person they're debating, right? And they were engaging in then what was called sophistry. And it was like, haha, stupid. You don't know, you don't understand how to make argument. Like they humiliated them just as bad as we do in modernity.
Well, but I mean, like during the debate, though, like the debate, let's just say this, the purpose of the debate was different than what we have. Well, like, and then so you get into like postmodern debate, which is my opponent is a liar and he's on the enemy side and fuck him. And, it's basically, you're just building a case, and it could be about anything.
But they but as this is pointed out,
the point is to destroy your opponent.
Yeah, but as this is pointed out in ancient philosophy, what is rhetoric? It's anything that convinces. And so if it's the case that I can convince you by telling you how bad he is and never engage in a single argument, you walk away thinking he is, didn't I win? Didn't I win? Did I win the debate? Maybe not. Right. But
especially if his argument is really bad. Is really stupid.
Right. So the thing is like
with the
rhetoric has its place too. But the problem that I think you're pointing out, and it's a great problem to point out, is that it can't all be that now, and that's what it all is anymore. It's all just rhetoric without any
political environment, mostly, or like the education.
I think that most people's worldviews are indefensible, and most of the shit they say is untrue, and it's unfounded, and it's really stupid, and it's
propaganda.
Yeah, and it's way easier to use rhetoric and appeal to people's emotions than it is to ask about a true-false proposition that might hurt a worldview and cause cognitive dissonance.
I think it's often also to do with attention span as well. Because if you look at Piers Morgan, what is that? That is just people going at each other with little tidbits. People get their information from TikTok. If you actually want to study a proposition, you have to be able to steel man the other person's worldview and then be able to logically break it down yourself, have a proper framework. And that takes a lot of
in some sense, like it's the lack of empathy, because basically people need to be able to put themselves in somebody else's shoe to understand basically.
And they also they want to understand it like this. Yeah, that's not really possible.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like that's a really good point. A lot of times high tier debaters have oppositional worldviews, like in boxing, maybe, or UFC, you might see this. There's a respect that's given between the two of them, because they have to wear the other person's mind like a skin, right? They have to really understand exactly what their position is. And so you can at least see the view. Like, well, the view makes sense. I may argue the view. I may think it's wrong, but it's not incoherent or stupid. This isn't a stupid person who has this view. It's just an incorrect view.
Do you think it's because of the physical danger of those sports as well, forces it a little bit?
Well, I don't know. Charlie Kirk was just assassinated, so it seems like debate's becoming a much more dangerous sport.
Well,
we were just having this conversation over dinner about like combat sports and then debate. So if you're going into a boxing ring, and you're just swinging from the hip and you're getting emotional, you'll pretty much always lose. But if you go in there and if you stick behind your jab, you watch that person, you watch their footwork, you watch their chest, you watch their eyes, and then you are tactical about it, you're going to win. It's the same with debate.
Boxing's not good. Jiu-jitsu's better, bro.
Butt sniffing.
So debate's not good. Debate's not good. Rhetoric's better.
So in the debates I've done, and I did them in college, and then I've done a couple with like Destiny, and mostly I get a bunch of flat earthers. But the main thing I end up debating is social circle versus like cold approach and stuff like that. Whenever I talk to someone, I remember the first thing I always think is, what if everything I believe is wrong? What if everything, and I rebuild my argument from the ground up, believing everything I believe is wrong. Secondly, I obsessively go over every single one of their arguments on video every time I can. And I always assume that the person I'm debating is smarter than me, more quick-witted than me, going to come back with punchier, funnier lines. Usually it's not the case, but I always assume that is the case beforehand. And you said something that I totally agree with. At the end, I in my mind, I'm like, thank you for allowing me to show this worldview. So I come into there with gratitude. And you guys see when Sneeko and Destiny were ganging up on Rolo, and I went on Fresh and Fit, that one time it was never personal. And I was like, oh, I can see how you would have that worldview, but here, just consider this. And I always had some sort of like statistics to back up what I was saying. And I found that that's probably the best, as opposed to what a lot of guys do, where it's like, oh, this guy's more popular than me. He's got more followers than me. Let me fucking yell at him and talk shit, because that way I can probably get some clout off of this. And that's what I see happen probably the most.
Yeah. I think
that is what happens the most.
Yeah.
All right. What's funny though is it's counterintuitive, because if they would actually engage in the debate, even if they lost, right? If they put their view out there, they would actually get more followers to their to them. They would actually get more people who had but that's
and it
not
makes
the
you a
world
lot
we
better
live in.
debater as well. Like I remember I was speaking to Rachel Wilson, and she was telling me how Andrew used to just sit down there and just watch these leftists in their spaces,
Yes.
in their TikToks, in their Discords, and all these sorts of things for hours and hours and hours. And she'd be like, "Come upstairs," and he'd be like, "No, I have to understand them. I have to understand everything about them."
Yeah.
Like you said, like you have to be able to wear their skin, and that makes you so much better a debater.
I will tell you one other thing that I did is I would listen to someone's viewpoints on whatever it is, and it didn't matter if it was dating or the astronomy or we landed on the moon or whatever. And I would actually, before they got to their viewpoint that I knew they were going to get to, because I watched them do it at the last 6 debates, I would bring it up and the opposition to it before they ever got to it, so that they couldn't even use it. And so that was a big one. Like I'll give you an answer for one.
That's so what you're doing is you're pre-assuming the argument, you're refuting it before we can ever get to it.
Right.
And what that does, it takes the ammunition out of the gun.
Yeah.
Right. So now what do you got? I've already destroyed all this many times in opening statements. I'll destroy opponents. They have nothing, no other place to go.
I'll tell you one of the ones I did that made people furious is I debated John Zerka on whether or not the earth was flat. And I started off with the presumption. I was like, nothing I'm going to say has to do with NASA, photographs from space. All of my proofs are going to be done by normal people standing on the surface of the earth in fake places like Australia. Yeah, but like I said
totally fake, by the way.
Yeah, totally fake. But when I said that and they realized they couldn't use NASA is a lie, the moonlight, when I took 70% of their argument away, I got the most hateful comments in the chat. How dare this guy? What's he talking about? Can't talk about NASA. Because I knew that's where the majority of they misunderstand. For instance, I'll give you an example. NASA makes composites of like several different photos together, and they composite them on grayscale, and then they color the photos afterwards, just because some of these nebulae don't appear in the visible spectrum. And so you show them later. Well, all the flat earther or the moon landing denier here or space is fake guy is composite, fake. That's all they hear, and then they don't go there. So seeing their argument or studying their argument,
they have hundreds and hundreds of thousands of these, by the way, that are publicly accessible. And you can use basic software to light them up. And while it is true that there are artists who make them far more flavorful, okay, that is 100% the case. You can see there's actual images there. And so I won't get into it too much more than that, because otherwise every flat earther and their brother will come after me, and I'm just not interested in the flat earth. I have all the concerns in the world that I'm after.
In terms of the debate,
that is not one of them.
I reckon that's one of the most interesting parts of debate is actually tactics. Because I do the opposite sometimes. So I was debating a left or right, like which is more dangerous in terms of political violence the other week, and I kind of intentionally made it look like I didn't really know what I was talking about in terms of facts and studies in the opening statement, because I didn't want him to have time to prepare for when we were in the opening dialogue. I knew he was going to pull out the studies. I just knew it was coming. And then I hit him with, all right, let's look at the methodology. And I've got like guys like Andrew and then Rob Knorr, who's another guy on our team who's just an absolute savant when it comes to political statistics. And he's training me on this. So I know exactly what to say. But didn't want to give him time.
I debated one time. Remember Gary, the numbers guy? He's like, it's astrology and it was numerology and all this kind of stuff.
I watched that debate in preparation for a debate with Gary. That debate with Gary went so terrible for Gary. And all he's done ever since then is sit in Twitter Spaces and talk shit. And that's all the guy can do. He's never.
Well, that's his whole business plan.
That's
his whole revenue.
The whole revenue.
That's what he does. Gary lost like a couple hundred followers on Instagram after that debate. Because so if you guys go on Social Blade, look at the date of the debate, you'll see he lost.
Well, he just spent the whole debate with you pissed off. He was just like, if you go, I mean, and the thing is, just like when you're fat and Jewish like that, which are not good. It's not like the guy doesn't have great optics to begin with. Like he's ugly and fat and stupid and retarded. So when he's spurting out against a guy like you, who's not fat and ugly and stupid and retarded, they look ridiculous. And so I always imagine him when he's in the Twitter space that he's in like an oversized chair for his fat ass and he's flailing his arms. You know what I mean? And another thing and another. That's how I always envision the guy.
You ever seen the South Park poo bag episode?
Yeah, totally.
Where his mum has to bring the poo bag and he's playing his game. He's got the pimples on his face.
So anyway, the tactic I was going to bring up is he would say something which was completely false. And I would literally look at the camera and I say, this is just for the audience. This is called blah, blah, blah fallacy. You see what he's doing here? He's did this and then he did it. And then I would return back to talking to him. But I would like stop with like being a narrator, be like, as you guys can see, he said this a few minutes ago. Now he's changed to this. You can change it. First 11 meant this, and now 11 means 1 + 1 is 2. So now it's the number 2. You guys see how he changed it, and then I go
Which,
back.
by the way, is a subtle form, and almost all numerologists do this. And it's an old occult practice. It's a subtle form of not brainwashing, but mesmerization, or you would call it modernity, maybe hypnosis.
Yeah.
So it's a low form of hypnosis, and the idea is to get you in this pattern where everything that you're hearing sounds good now, right? That's 11. That's 11. That's 11.
Yeah.
That's 11. That's 11. The two of you, there's 1 and 1, but the two of you are next to each other. Looks like 11.
Yeah.
And that predicts that this studio
Yeah.
was always going to be here. And then let's count this 2, 4. There's 6 of us, right?
Plus
6.
5.
Yeah, hang on. 6 and 5.
That's a
That's
power
11.
number.
I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 monitors.
You know the other thing that's really funny
Coincidence?
I think not.
The other thing that's really funny about social media, though.
I remember that guy. This fucking idiot told me, it's like we were getting into plane crashes, and he was like, and it's always on this exact date. So we just pulled up the data live, right? My guys just pulled it up, and we're like, no, he's totally wrong. This is the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
The one about the billionaires all being born on the 5th, and then I just went and found all the billionaires
Yeah,
that
it's
weren't
just all
born on the 5th.
bullshit. It's
It
just
took 2
total
seconds.
bullshit.
And then and then the other one was I can't remember what it was. It was Jim Brown and Michael Jordan were born on this day of the month, and they're the greatest at their position. I was like, Barry Sanders is the greatest running back of all time, not Jim Brown. and it was like, but like nobody would challenge these ideas, but it would happen. That would just happen over and over again.
Well, I'll tell you another thing I found with these numerologists, like Gary. What they do is they go, I predict that this is going to be a really bad year for you. And then they go and try to make it a really bad year for you.
Yeah.
And so it's like me predicting, I think there's going to be a train and it's going to go off the rails tonight. And then the train goes off the rails because I went over and took the track out, right? And it's like, I am a genius at predictive modeling. And it's like, what the fuck are you talking about?
That I always have for people, because like we've gone out before, we've had drinks. I mean, we met you behind stage at that event and everything. We had a chance to talk. I think like a lot of the times when people actually go on a debate, right, they only see each other's social media presence. They don't go and have a beer with the guy before or afterwards.
Right.
And so they don't get to kind of know the person. And they like on social media, it's like you have the big dog and the small dog on the other side of the fence. Everybody's fucking yelling at each other. You take that away, you actually have a beer with the people.
Well,
Like,
so there's
most people tend to
also,
be a little bit
you
more
touched
chill
on
offline.
something super important here, which is the idea of nerves. So there's this guy who Rachel's debating on feminism, Craig, right? Now, here's the thing, right? Craig and I got into it long before Rachel and him do. He's a guy who debates.
We've both taken him out.
He's an anti-flat earther. That's where he cut his teeth, was debating flat earthers. He did pretty good, actually. He wasn't bad at it. And then he got into, unfortunately, normative claims and politics, and that's not his place. But the point is, I got a chance to meet him. He flew in from the UK, and he's
And before this, were you guys like?
well, we had
kinda
butted
anti-
heads. I didn't have anything personal against
Okay,
him, and
cool.
he didn't have anything.
Gotcha.
We debated with each other. They were
Sometimes
heated.
social media people make it too personal.
Yeah, sure. We were heated in the debate, but again, I don't take any of it personally, and he didn't either.
Well, not during the
When he
debate,
flew in, well, even after,
Okay.
right? When he flew in, we sat down and we talked. I think we had a beer,
Okay.
right? And we chatted for a couple hours, right? He was a really nice guy, and got to meet his wife, and she was a lovely person, right? And he was just a swell fella,
Yeah.
right? But when I was debating with him, you could see the nerves.
Right.
And when the nerves come, right, you don't want to do poorly. You don't want to feel like people are going to make fun of you, this or that. And man, he did poorly because it was a combination of nerves, right, and not being the content expert and et cetera, et
Well, 'cause
cetera.
I kind of view it like the UFC, right? You're gonna have these different guys that are battling each other in practice, but they're friends, right? They're chilling with each other. But there's some guys that are just like they just oil and water, right? They're just not gonna mix. And so it's always kind of funny to see like when people don't have that chance to have the beer beforehand or afterwards, like kind of like how do those like I don't know
The dynamics.
how do they work? Because sometimes
Yeah,
it
when there's
really
no
spirals
stakes,
negative really quick
yeah.
for no reason. You know what I
When
mean?
there's no stakes, I think it does work like that. I've always kind of prided myself on the fact that I don't think I'm much different behind the scenes than I am on the mic. I've just always kind of
Yeah, we
prided
try to do the
myself
same.
on that.
Yeah, exactly.
So from my perspective, there's a lot of fakery and nonsense, and people have a persona and they want the persona.
Right.
Um,
But you can't keep that up forever.
Of course not. And I think in a lot of cases, it just comes down to sheer nerves. You know, like I have a practiced media presence at this point because I've been on so many different shows. I've been viewed by millions and millions and millions of people globally. Like at this point, I don't have those nerves, but you could debate with somebody, and if their nerves get shot, they can become agitated, belligerent, even semi-violent, even semi-violent, right? Because they feel like there's pressure. Imagine that kind of pressure. And that's how they feel.
For like Bebo the Cuck, he would have had a lot of pressure.
Yeah, Bebo the Cuck.
That'd be a lot of pressure. Yeah,
the man has the best teeth, Bebo the Cuck. But yeah, again, that's why he became very belligerent, I believe, as well, is because he felt like there was a lot of pressure. Wait a second, what did I just say? And millions of people are going to see this. Oh, but you know what I mean? Like it can be heart wrenching. It can be like it can make a person completely belligerent, and that's a part. I talk to people. I'm like, you don't want that kind of pressure. Trust me, it's not. It's not fun.
So do you teach that because you have an academy, right, about debate?
Mm-hmm.
Do you teach people how to get over the nerves, basically? Like, is it just time?
There's nothing that will ever. So there are some people who just have a natural affinity, and it doesn't bother them that much, right? There are some. Unfortunately, those people are usually great entertainers and terrible debaters. Now, there are some people like me who are great debaters and great entertainers, but that's rare. I mean, that's just rare across the board. Anybody who's a great entertainer, that's rare enough in itself. Very, very rare. Yeah. And it's not just shit on anybody. It's just like it's very rare you find really good welders. You find really good tradesmen, right? It's just a rare thing that people are very skilled and rise to the top in anything. But what I would say more than anything is that pressure, it goes away over time and experience. Like when you guys think back to your very first podcast, when you had a lot of people and maybe to you at the time, a lot of people was like, there's 100 people right now watching. That is a lot. If you imagine being on a stage and there's 100 people physically there watching you, that would be very nerve-wracking for most people. Right. Public speaking is one of the biggest phobias and biggest fears people have. Yeah, it is. One of the biggest. They used to have a place called Toastmasters. Yeah. And Toastmasters was designed to help you do public speaking. And there was guys behind you going, here's the thing you could have done better. Here's the thing you could have, let's help with this, just to help people get over that phobia. So I would say it's experience more than anything, and subjecting yourself to it over and over and over again.
That's how I got good, was with Pat Campbell, like doing his show over and over again. And then we started the podcast, and I started doing live events and stuff like that. And then like I realized when I went on like Dr. Phil, like I'm in the studio audience of about 350 people or something like that. And I just, in the back of my head, I'm like, I have more people in my waiting room, to watch a stream that are in this audience right now.
You know what? Let's talk about this real quick. So CBS interviewed me for a thing about boys and men falling behind. Is a Richard Reeves. He was the star of the story, but they interviewed me because of my Men of Action program. And I remember one of the things I told my friends, I was like, no matter what happens on CBS, they were like, what if CBS tries to ambush you? And I was like, I get 4 million views, 5 million views a month on IG. I get more views than CBS News does at this point. Like they get nothing. It's crazy how far legacy media has fallen down to where, like, I wouldn't, if some reality show came and asked me to go on, I'd go on the reality show, and one of my clips would go more viral than anything Bravo TV would put on, because this is the mistake the massive mistake that Kamala Harris, I don't know if you guys saw the interview. He went on Diary of a CEO. She went on Diary of a CEO and finally admitted, I should have gone to Joe Rogan. Finally.
Do you want him on this side or this side?
No, it's up to you.
All right, we got Myron. There it is.
So, okay.
All right.
How you guys doing, bro? How you guys doing?
Hey.
Yeah. Sorry for the delay. I was like at a gun YouTuber event. Went and said what's up to some people over there.
I told your audience that you ain't beating the stereotype.
I still came on some nigga time. So I had to. So now the blacks can't say I'm not black.
That's right.
Sure. They say you're not one of us. I'm like, actually, I am. I am technically.
Last night we crashed a bartender competition.
Yeah, we did. We crashed a bartender
competition,
and we were just in there having a good time.
As well.
But yeah, back to that. You make not only a good point, but when you say that the legacy media is crashing out, here's how bad it really is. So Politico, I guess, has run numerous hit pieces on me. I had no idea.
Oh yeah, same thing.
Like I literally had no idea. So this going back like 2 years, they've been writing hit pieces on me. And I didn't even know. Nobody in my audience even knew that this was
SEO is so terrible.
So it's like, really? Okay, well, I guess nobody saw it.
Yeah, the London Times wrote an article about me, and then someone sent it to me, and then I looked up the article several times. I was like, okay, let me go in incognito mode on Google, and I couldn't find it because their SEO was so terrible. They don't know, they're so far behind. Legacy media is just like worthless. So you can still use it on your board, say, you know, as seen in Forbes, as seen in these different places. But like, I would rather have a popular podcast than be an anchor on NBC at this point.
Can we get a bow from you, Myron, considering you're the only person in the room who had a former presidential candidate who is coping about you?
Yeah.
Can we get like I mean, I feel
you know,
yeah,
you
I
guys
feel
all
like
owe me one.
yeah.
We'd have a woman in the White House if it wasn't
yeah,
for me,
I feel
right?
like out of all the people who have had other people coping about them out of this group in this room, you definitely win on that, having Kamala Harris personally cope about Byron Gaines.
I was shocked that like because you know, someone sent me the thing and they're like, dude, she wrote about you in her book. I was like, what? And then, like, they sent me the excerpt and I was like, and he sent it to me and I was like, what the hell? And I, you know, I ended up, well, I won't say that. I'll tell you guys off camera who sent it to me. But
here's the funny thing. You guys remember before the election, I brought this up several times. I said African-American and Hispanic men are going to start voting Republican. And I literally, what did I call it? Do you remember what I call the effect?
Oh, yeah, the Myron Gaines
I
effect.
literally called it the Myron Gaines effect.
Yeah,
I said what Myron, because we're talking about social conditioning. It's like Myron and people like Myron were making it comfortable for African Americans to say, hey, maybe I don't want to vote for the party of Glorilla and Megan Thee Stallion.
Yeah.
Maybe I do want a wife. Maybe I do want faithfulness in the home, and maybe I want a family. And I said that, and then what happened? 35% of African American men, which doesn't sound like a lot, but when you consider the propaganda that they've been fed for the last 100 years, the fact that 35% of African American men, I heard under the age of 30, it was like 50% of African American men, 41% of Hispanics voted Republican in the last election. And so I called it the Myron Gaines effect.
Yeah.
And then it happened. It came true. I made a video about it the next day, to being like, I where a huge swing was going to be, because a lot of liberal politics when it comes to elections was I have to vote this way because this is what my family said, this is the color of my skin, and this is my religion. And I believe some of the things we do on the internet is making it so I don't have to do that anymore.
Well, can we just point out the irony of all these progressives running around talking about how the manosphere and social media influencers, they don't really have any influence. They really think an awful lot of themselves. They really think that they really are out there changing things, and they're not. And it's like, look, I ain't never heard Donald Trump cope about destiny, but I can tell you for sure that Kamala Harris coped a lot about Myron Gaines. You know, it's like, well, there's, you know, here's the distinction that I can see is like, obviously there's an effect in culture if the person running for president is blaming the loss on a social media influencer.
Well, I mean, the first thing they said right after the loss was, "Oh, we don't have anybody on our side like Joe Rogan."
That's W's in chat for Myron, by the way.
Appreciate that. Or who was the other guy? Theo Vaughn. I mean, Theo Vaughn is not red pill.
Yeah.
But they wanted to. It's like they conflate bro culture with like red pill manosphere, and I'm just like, have we gotten to the point where it's like everything that like anything that's against you is suddenly a red pill or something?
But can we point out how staggering it is? Like, it's just staggering to me that if Myron walked outside, he had a heart attack tonight, and he never did anything again for the rest of his life. What an accomplishment that fucking bitch
put her back in the kitchen. Put her in the kitchen.
Fucking bitch lost an election and Donald Trump won it, and she associates the loss with him. Like, what a W! Like, what a huge W!
Yeah, like, you know, and then the thing, like, she talked about how like she lost the young men, but like the Democrats have lost the young men for a very long time. You know what I mean? And it's been that way. Like, we're seeing like the meteoric rise of like Nick Fuentes, for example, right? This is the byproduct of not just the Democrats, but like also the Republicans to a degree, because Democrats didn't give a shit at all.
Yes.
But now it's starting to be exposed that like the GOP didn't either, right? Yeah. If you're not like a big donor, you don't have a lot of money, they didn't care either. So like ostracizing men has negative consequences when they actually unite and get behind something. And we're seeing that now.
Give them a mission, remember?
Oh, is that? Yeah, give them a mission and like, yeah,
How
they're gonna.
about this? Have you guys seen Barack Obama talking about we need to look after our boys now? Literally, like saying the
now they
same
care.
things we've been saying. And Gavin Newsom, he goes on and he with Richard Reeves, and he starts like literally saying almost verbatim what we've been saying for like 18 years.
And then what Chris Williamson was just on with Tucker Carlson. I'm listening to this guy like spout off red pill point after point. I'm like, where the fuck have you been for the last?
I commented. I commented on that. I said, like, because one thing because here's the thing, I don't hate Chris Williamson. I've actually met him before. He's a nice guy, but he's purposely keeping out guys like us from going on his show. Like purposely, and it's like so fucking blatant. And like he'll bring on someone like a Sadia Khan or like these other like pseudo red pill.
Well, no, he had Bonnie Blue on
Destiny's
before he had Rollo
three
Tomassi.
times.
Dude, just think about that.
And it's like
Bonnie Blue,
like I wouldn't care like if they didn't go on there talking shit on us. Like I've seen them badmouth every single one of us at this table, pretty much his guests. And it's like, dude, you don't even let us go on there and like defend ourselves or give our worldview. And quite frankly, we're more popular than all these fucking people that you bring on. Yeah. But the reason why he does that is because I'm pretty convinced that he's scared to share his audience, and he's also scared because a lot of women watch him.
Yeah.
So like guys are terrified of this because I've realized this with like dealing with like, more normie influencers. These guys that have like a 50-50 female male audience or have a lot of women, they don't want to bring us on because they don't want to be called misogynist or they don't want to lose their audience, which is super fucking cucked.
I can't get rid of them. I can't get rid of the women. I've tried. I've tried for years.
I'm trying to get rid of my women subscribers.
Every single time, I'm like, can we just get the fucking women out of the chat? They're like, you can't get rid of them. I'm like, fuck.
You know the easiest way, just get into crypto.
But it's just, but it's like super annoying because he brings people on. He brings people on that constantly talk shit on us, constantly, and he will never bring on the guys that they're talking shit about. But and the thing that pisses me off the most is like, we're bigger than all these fucking randos he brings on.
Bro,
like a lot of these guys are nobodies.
Literally had James Bloodworth on. Do you guys know who this guy is? So he goes around, he would go on all these pickup boot camps, and then he would expose them and then write articles, and he wrote a book about it. He came to one of my boot camps, lied about every dude. I got people that'll swear under affidavit. Every single thing this guy said was a lie. He goes on Chris Williamson and spews his nonsense. And I'm like, he's defaming me, but you won't have me on? That's crazy.
That's what pisses me off about him. I don't care if you platform me or not.
Isn't that what always happens to us? I mean, how many times has this happened, Jake, where some crazy feminist is running down me or Myron or Brian at the whatever pocket? This happens constantly. And I'll go to their channel. I'll go to their channel and it'll be highlighted with like 800 likes from the community. I'll be like, why don't I just come on and discuss this with you? Because you just lied about an awful lot. And they go,
destroys their narrative.
Yeah, and that's right. And what they'll do is they'll make a video the next day. Andrew Wilson upset with me because blah, blah, blah. Yeah. Well, you can make a video. I don't want to tit for tat. I want to go on and talk to you about why the fuck you're lying about
bad faith.
It's funny.
Bad faith. It's bad faith.
Like I don't give a shit if he brings me on or not. Quite frankly, honestly, I think at this point, like I'm more relevant than he is. But the thing is that don't bring fucking people on that are like gonna constantly shit on me and talk about me and talk about Rollo and Andrew Tate and everybody else. And you're too fucking pussy to bring us on because you're scared of losing your audience. But you bring these other loser pseudo guys on that talk shit on us all the time, attack our credibility, and we can't even defend ourselves. Yeah, that's fucking stupid.
Think about it.
It's annoying.
So think about it from their standpoint. And I mentioned this before when we call it gatekeeping. Yeah. The concept is this: like we're getting attacked all the time, and we're debating all the time, and we're doing 10, 20 hours of content per week. If we go on there, if you go on Chris Williamson, you're not going to come off sounding like a lunatic. You wouldn't come off sounding like a lunatic.
And he's going to get views.
And the problem,
that's the other thing that pisses me off. He's going to get views. Like, stop being a bitch.
Yeah.
Or don't platform these dickheads.
Yeah, exactly. The problem isn't that his audience will not like us. The problem is that his audience will like us. Yeah. And then at that point, now the message is mixed. And then you get a bunch of people in the comments like, I liked your show, but you did have this one guy on and I'm not going to follow. And then you're going to have people who completely take all of us out of context and like, I'm never coming back on your show. And then the other thing is he's got advertisers, and that's also a big
But most of that shit is all ops. Like, let me give you the point of the op, right? How many times have you guys, all of you guys, everyone sitting at this table has seen this? I'm a big fan of such and such, but man, they really lost this one. I'm a big fan of such and such, but he really is off. He's really out to lunch on this one. They're not your fucking fans.
No, bro, they're
not your fucking fans. They're the fan of the other guy, and they're coming in and they're trying to poison the well. They're not your fucking fans.
Yeah.
Like, what are you talking about? And I see this under Myron. that the last debate that you did,
Yeah.
right?
With who Tatum, Destiny.
It was
College?
Destiny.
Tatum.
It was the Destiny. Well, and the Tatum one too.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Yeah.
I used to be a big
Israel.
fan of Myron until this debate.
Oh yeah.
I used to be a big fan of Myron, and then I saw this debate, and now I hate him. You know, now I'm not a big fan. I'm like, this fucking guy's been talking about this for the last year. It wasn't this debate that changed your mind. They're op chatters, right? They're there specifically to poison the well, change the narrative. So I don't believe any of that shit anyway. I always laugh at these people. I always think it's so funny.
I was watching Rob Henderson not too long ago, and I forget the name of the chick he was on. He's a evolutionary psychologist guy that I follow quite a bit, and he mentioned me by name, and he was like, "Oh, there's this Rollo Tomasi guy. I guess is the rational male, blah blah blah." I don't know much about him. I have him on mute, on Twitter. But let me tell you, for the next 45 minutes,
all about
Yeah.
Do you like? And you have a doctorate. You have a DR.
And here's the thing: like, you two guys, look, I can see why they must say, "Okay, Myron's really this guy's a Nazi, whatever." All right, fine, don't platform me. But like, I don't know why they don't platform you guys. You guys are clean. Like, you guys are far reputation.
You know why? Because we're not.
Well, hang on. I'm not.
Ecosystem
Look, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I do get platformed a lot in the mainstream. I do. Right. So I'm not part of the they won't platform.
Well, what they'll do is they'll take our ideas and run it right up to the gate, and then they'll pull out the stuff that they like, and then they'll say, "We can't. Look at what we made."
I think it's because you reach a threshold in audience size where you can't be ignored.
Yeah.
And there's nothing that they can do about that. Myron, they sent him off to the depths of the abyss, thinking that they were going to get rid of him. And he did the exact same thing Fuentes did, and he built an empire in the dark, right?
Yeah,
that's what
he had to do.
And so now he comes
parallel
back,
construct on Rumble.
Now he comes back like a monster in the college tour, right? So now he's back and he's in the college tour. All of his clips are going viral, and it's unstoppable, right? So their whole plan of banishing him to the abyss, well, that really didn't work very well.
There is nothing Nick Fuentes could do to get canceled now. Just seriously consider that. Like, what could he do?
They're trying.
At this point? Yeah, but what
They're
could
trying.
he literally, like, what I'm saying is if he was caught for tax evasion, that still wouldn't.
Oh yeah,
he'd have a huge audience. Like, no one would care.
They've banned him for so long that it's like now it's like no one trusts the censors anymore.
Yeah,
because they've had him banned. Like there's a war going on right now, dude. Like literally, like I'm not sure if you guys are familiar, but like there was like the Republican Jewish Coalition met here in Vegas a couple of days ago, and they basically declared war on anyone that was critical of that place in the Middle East. I won't go too far into it.
Yeah.
And they're basically putting a line in the sand. Mark Levin just went straight like, we're going to censor you. We're going to deplatform you. These guys don't deserve a platform, blah, blah, blah. And they're taking the gloves off. So it was a declaration of war. Him, Randy Fine, a bunch of these, Ted Cruz, all these guys got on stage and we're just like going at it. Like everybody is critical of, that
And
stage.
you see that war is just heating up, and you see what's going on social media. You ain't seen nothing yet. Interestingly enough, what happened when they removed, so Fuentes, for instance, he had YouTube, right? Took that. Twitch took that. D Live took that, right? Next thing, take that. Took him off Twitter, took him off everything. But what happened is it forced right wingers, not just him. He wasn't the only one who was deplatformed. Alex Jones was deplatformed, for instance. Alex Jones still can't have a channel anywhere. Yeah. Totally deplatformed from anything in the mainstream. And there's many other creators like that. Another good one that most people don't ever talk about is Stefan Molyneux. Stefan Molyneux had the largest philosophy show in the world at the time on YouTube. And he wasn't really making kind of content which was designed to be edgy or anything like that. He was just diving into deep philosophical issues of our time. But he got caught up in the ban wave. They removed him too. What these guys all went and did was they pioneered alternative media, and not just alternative media in the conventional sense, but brand new outlets. So Stefan Molyneux went on. I think he founded a streaming platform. Fuentes, he founds Cozy. When Myron's deplatformed, there was already something there, right? Rumble was there to assist with the alternative. And so what ended up happening is now there's no opposition. So when people are looking for what happens when you find somebody who is deplatformed everywhere and is saying things that you agree with? Well, now they have something they can say. They can say they shut us down because we were telling the truth. And now you feel like you found a hidden gem, man. You found the diamond in the rough, because if they weren't afraid of him, he wouldn't be deplatformed on everything. And so in many ways, the progressives have made their own enemy.
Yeah.
They have made their own enemy by forcing conservatives to make brand new social media platforms, make brand new ways to interact with media. And the second Elon Musk opened up Twitter X and that flood came in, progressives got wiped the fuck out. And what do you think? Months?
Yeah.
Couple of months. They were wiped out.
They had to make a blue sky.
Yeah. So going back to what your point, I was listening to this one professor talk about what woke culture is and where woke came from. And woke is stopping the debate, like stopping the discussion. That's essentially what it is. I'm so offended, I won't have this discussion with you. So people on the left are not going to debate. People on the right were debating with one another. A lot of people on the left.
And they were debating with the left.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they would, but there was not as many people on the left that wanted to debate because they would feign offensiveness or feign wokeness, or I can't believe we're having this. Think of Larry Summers losing his job at Harvard because he stated that there's more men outside one standard deviation of IQ, and that's why there's not as many women in STEM. He loses his job at Harvard because of that, simply not because anyone wants to deal with the issue on its face, but because they were offended, they were woke, and then therefore they canceled
Look
him.
at Jordan Peterson.
But
same thing.
Exactly. So here's the problem, right? You keep doing the woke thing and you keep deplatforming them. And so now you kind of win because they can't come out with their argument, which their argument is generally, again, I think our arguments are more sound because they're more sound, but I also think our arguments are more sound because we get attacked more. I do think that because we get attacked so much that we have a bulletproof foundation for our argument. But what happens?
I think my arguments are sound because they're true.
Yes, exactly.
Right, because
exactly.
it's true. And when you're arguing from the truth perspective, it's hard to lose.
But you've also seen flat earthers go on and debate somebody and make them look silly, even though the earth isn't flat. It's like the skilled debater.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah,
you can argue positions which aren't true effectively.
Yes,
and win.
Yes.
I've seen that many times. I'm not arguing that that's not the case. You're completely right about that.
Yeah,
I would just say, I think that it's an audience distinction thing. I think you're right that woke is designed not just to shut down conversation and debate, but even more important, I don't even think it's the wokies themselves who want that. They seem to actually want to engage in debate. The Twitch sphere, they want to engage in debate. The Destinies of the world, as Myron knows, they want to engage in debate.
He's one of the few.
A lot of these people do. They're terrified of their audience. So it's like a giant virtue signal. You can imagine, if you will, a priest, right, who has a Puritan parish. Maybe he wants to have a drink with his kid, but he can't because the optics are so bad, right? Just like a celebratory, oh, congratulations or something like this. The optics are too bad. They can't.
Andrew, that's an interesting point because, like, I've always thought to myself, like, why? Because I've always thought, like, okay, their arguments are weak. They're just scared to talk to us, right? That's why they come up, like, because what do? You're a Nazi. I'm not going to talk to you.
Audience
You're a fascist. I'm not going to talk to you. But that's a good point where they're scared of their audience too.
Yes.
Where even talking to someone or debating someone with a different viewpoint is so heinous to them. Like, Mehdi Hassan.
Yes,
he did the 20 verse 1. I don't debate fascists.
Yeah, that's it.
What?
Well, but what is that except a virtue signal? He's signaling to his audience, I'm on your side. I agree with you. These people are too heinous to ever be in my distinguished Mehdi Hassan presence. I am too distinguished for people like these low-tier Nazis to come in on here and discuss the issues of our time. Their audience is making that demand. Your audience is opposite. So what Myron's audience will do is they're demanding that he engage.
Yeah.
His audience is like, get him. Get that fucker. Get that leftist. Get that progressive. Get that feminist. Get that bitch.
Same
right?
With your audience
That's
too.
That's the whole. They're like they want to see their worldview
Conservatives
represented,
want to see debates,
and they think that my worldview can destroy all others. And I think it can for the most part, right? But Myron, your audience does too. They think that your worldview is superior, so they want to see it showcased. And you know what? If you lose, they'll even tell you that too. Like, hey, man, you fucking lost this one, but who cares? Get right back into it. Their audience does the opposite. If you watch the YouTube comments and you watch what progressive audiences do, 90% of the comments are, this is why you don't have conservatives on. This is why you can't trust these neo-Nazis.
Yes, exactly.
This is why these people are not worth your time. Stay away from these people. I hate these people. It's always don't bring them back on. We want to come into our echo chamber where we can be a bunch of transgender lunatics and homos, right? And we don't want any pushback because it makes us feel upsetty spaghetti. So it's like, that's the difference, I think, bro.
And as much as people hate Destiny, that's one thing I give him credit for is he will go into conservative hotbeds.
He loves that shit.
Like he'll do it. He's like the only progressive that will actively do it. These other guys, and I kind of got red pilled, and Andrew, you're gonna know exactly what I'm saying. Me and you both work with Tim quite a bit. When Tim Pool tries to do his culture wars, it's so hard for him to find progressives that want to come on and do debates.
We did the same thing for election night. We couldn't find a single girl in the city.
Dude,
yeah.
Like, or if they do say they're going to come on, they want to get paid or something like that because they know that they're going to get cooked. And it's like, but like with conservatives, like they're totally cool with like sitting down and talking to progressives, but like so many of them, and that's why Destiny's so big, actually. He's one of the few progressives that will sit there despite all the scandals, all the hate, everything like that. He's so big because he actively goes in and actually engages in debates with the other side.
And
that's why people like him. And he wins sometimes. Yeah.
And so the thing is like, I'm not going to take that away from the guy.
I give him credit.
Right? He does win. But the thing is like
Hassan doesn't debate. Kyle Kalinske doesn't debate. The Dean Withers doesn't debate because he's a bitch. Right? Who else? Harry Sisson. None of these guys want to debate.
Not just that. Parker, right? Most of the TikTokers, things like this, they don't want debates. They want low information, low IQ TikTok surfers to jump on their stream so that they can dunk on them. Professional debates? No fucking way. No way.
Do you think that's all like kind of exacerbated by social media? Because if you go back to like the 90s, let's say, right? A lot more people from both political sides were much more willing to have a conversation.
Well, that was back when Democrats were sensible.
Well, right.
Like, okay, yeah, keep in mind, like a progressive, back then would be considered a far rightist today.
Yeah. Correct. Well, that's what I mean. Is like, is it social media that's basically bringing the divide bigger?
Oh, I see what you mean.
Or is it just like people being more
that's a good question.
It's not social media.
I mean the form of media. Basically.
Yeah, well,
because the media has changed.
Yeah, what's happened is that the original plan, the mass deplatforming that happened during the 2018 to 2019 blood sports era. This was being hosted by Warski Live. Okay, I don't know if you guys remember Warski.
I remember.
Okay, that show was fucking huge. And at that time, you had the Kill Stream with Ethan Ralph. That shit was huge too. Okay, these guys were platforming the best of the best debaters who were out there, and they wanted the drama too. They wanted both. Okay. And what happened is it became so popular that these like normal influencers had some real sway over the MSM conversation. Guys like JF Gary Epi, who now they've tried to just put in like these little tiny holes and just forget about, right?
Holy shit. I haven't seen him in forever.
But he had like, if
they nuked him off social media.
Not just nuked him, but the thing is like that guy, they were winning. Like JF will tell you, like they were winning it all. And then the great nukening happened, right? And they just took out everybody, and they did it overnight, right? It wasn't like gradual. You were gone.
And when was that?
And you were deplatformed. This was 2018, 2019, and then it was leading in 2020, 2021, right? And they would do it in sections. Now there's 50 of you nuked. Now there's 100 of you nuked. Right. No explanation, no nothing, right? And so anyway, that's what happened there. That was the back, but they had huge influence, and that was actually a threat to the MSM, who was struggling at that time for views, especially in cable networks, because podcasts were really beginning to make inroads, and they were in complete denial. You can go back and read all the articles in 2018. The podcasting fad's going to go away.
Yes,
the podcasting fad is done. People don't like it because they don't have the same research team, and they're not giving them the accurate information. Well, they got that wrong. Because now come 2025, podcasters are what won elections. Yep. And how do we know? Yep. Because we have Vice President Kamala Harris, all right, saying that a podcaster destroyed her career. And then you have the entire MSM saying that Joe Rogan made Trump's career. So the thing is, that
was a big mistake. I agree with you that she didn't do Rogan.
Let me talk about that.
Big mistake.
He goes on Diary of a CEO. And, he's not very far right, but he's like, he pushes back when she's like, well, Joe wanted things that were unreasonable. And I'm like, no, he's like, no, you messed up. Like if I was working for you, you would have gone on that show and other shows. And she says, then we found out later that he was a Trump supporter. And I'm like, what the fuck does that matter? The idea that she thought that Trump wouldn't have given her a fair shot. Again, it's what is it? It's woke. It is essentially, I am this conversation because I'm a progressive. This conversation on its face is beneath me. And therefore I cannot have it. I will not engage in your conversation.
But who's that for? Because it can't be really for her, because engaging the conversation is going to bring in people who agree with her.
Yeah.
And expand her. So it's for the existing clientele. It's all a virtue signal to the existing clientele. And that's what the 2018 blood sports era taught us.
Yeah.
And what it taught us is if you have too much influence and we nuke you off, that works. And so progressives have been sticking with what works. As long as you're beneath them As long as you're not on par with them, they can neo-Nazi you out of the building, right? Whether you are or you aren't, right? And almost nobody is. But you just wrong think neo-Nazi, they'll neo-Nazi you out of the building. That worked to get rid of. So they felt like they had no opposition. They didn't realize it was all building up in the background. And if you go back to Trump's original election, when they were saying the disenfranchised voter, the unspoken majority is really going to come out, the MSM scoffed and mocked them. That man doesn't exist, Myron.
Yep.
He's never existed. He's made up. He's fictitious. He did exist. And they were operating the backdrop, and these guys were all talking to those people, and they're all coming back. Now they're all coming back, and it's like, and there's going to be hell to pay.
And I'll tell you this too. You want to know something else? Like all those people that you mentioned, a lot of these guys were white nationalists. A lot of these guys had white identitarian viewpoints, and they got fucking banned. And then people say, Myron, why do you defend white people so much, blah, blah. Well, the reality is like they can't speak their mind. How is it that Tariq Nasheed, Dr. Umar Johnson, all these guys run around and they're black nationalists with zero consequence? But if someone comes in and says, hey, white replacement theory is real, banned. You're a neo-Nazi, you're a white nationalist, you're evil, etc. Why is it that, every other group of people can practice nationalism and, loving their race and everything else like that? But if a white dude does it, we got to get this guy out of here as a neo-Nazi.
And this was done.
Because
all those people that got banned that you mentioned, like during that era, the Nick Fuenteses, the Garepis that you mentioned, Jared Taylor, who else? Richard
Stefan
Molyneux, all these guys.
The Spencer thing was different because he was an MSM darling, and then what happened with the whole like rally thing,
Charlottesville, Charlottesville, and January 6th exacerbated it.
The Charlottesville thing took some of them out. The big thing was
the bottom line is like if you had any viewpoints is like with white identity as a white content creator, you were on the list and they're getting rid of you. That's why it's making such a resurgence now.
What's funny is like that wasn't even a requirement. Like there was guys who were getting nuked who actually weren't.
Less than that,
and they were just all that they were is they had wrong think. They just had wrong think. They weren't feminist enough. They weren't this enough. Twitch politics did the purge. True pro. Yeah, exactly. Big Christianity people were also getting banned because of their anti-abortion stances, their abolitionist stances. So it's like it was across the board. Banned. Yeah, the right was getting destroyed from the left's view, and because this works so well, the audience signaling of keep them deplatformed, that entered into the narrative, and they've been practicing that, and now it's a failure. And now it's all coming back. And it was Elon Musk. He flipped a switch.
Well, let's talk about the biggest one. I think in part Elon Musk bought Twitter because they took away the president's social media account. I think in part he saw the threat to what they did. I think that's the biggest uncancellation of them all is him being reelected.
You want some tinfoil hat shit? Let me give you guys some tinfoil hat shit. Let me give you my Elon Musk conspiracy theory. Okay. No. You know how there used to be a narrative, the prevailing narrative, that the reason that the like uber wealthy and uber rich do all the weirdo shit, they wear the goat mask and they do the occult stuff, is because they're fucking bored. Yeah. Right. Mm-hmm. And that's it. They're just fucking bored. They're not actually weirdos and this and that. They're just bored and want something to do. So they play like the let's hunt the guy in the forest and shit. Yeah, right. But what I think, I picture in my mind, exactly. I picture in my mind that Musk is sitting on his couch somewhere and he's like, I'm bored and I'm just going to create a lot of fucking chaos for fun. Like, he is that kind of guy. Like he thinks to himself, we could go out and hunt human beings in some like African nation, like some of these rich people do it in
Cambodia now.
Yeah, or we can go do like the pedo thing. Yeah, he's like, I'm not going to do any of that. I got a way to introduce maximum chaos for the largest, most powerful nation in the world. And all I got to do is buy a single platform. And he just flipped the switch and went, haha, and just kick back and just watch the chaos. Now, maybe I'm wrong. It could be 100% wrong. But in my tinfoil hat filled brain, that's the way I think of it. That Musk just went, watch this shit.
And I think he also
behind the computer that really wants to do that. Kind of stuff.
He also understands that Twitter is the number one like political app. Like, so him buying it would give him an enormous amount of stake in the coming election, because people forget he was a Ron DeSantis supporter at first. Yeah, like DeSantis launched his whole campaign on Twitter with the X Space and all this other stuff, and he ended up failing. And then he got behind Trump, obviously. But I think him buying Twitter, a big part of it was having influence within the election. And then obviously he was in the administration for like 6-7 months, is basically like the second president with Doge and everything else. Obviously he walked away from it because he had lost so much money with, Tesla and everything, all his other stuff, death threats and everything else like that. So we had to step away, and then him and Trump had their little riffs. But I think he did it for, political reasons, to have some type of influence, but also, probably to see some entertainment as well.
I got to get to super chats. When you
do it.
Okay,
So Mafia.
All right. So the super chats basically focus on one thing. They want to talk shit about you and CGA. So here's it. Question for Andrew. Big reason why the red pill doesn't give prescriptions is because we would feel morally responsible. And then this is continued. Is the church willing to take responsibility for the men who fail 10% of the time? Things like help him get a new wife financially, etc. If the church had a MOA, like Mike's MOA, to help, most dudes would marry.
This question is so easily answered. Yes, of course. Men find solace in the church and the community of the church, and they help them through all sorts of moral crisis and financial crisis. Why is this news to you, chatter? Are you fucking stupid? This has been ongoing from the community of the church since the dawn of time. The entirety of the church is designed to assist you through crisis. What are you talking about?
I got another one here.
Will they take responsibility? They're the only ones who take responsibility. You know what red pillars don't do? They don't take responsibility for the mass promiscuity that they promote, like Coach CG Dumbass, who put out a tweet saying, go ahead and fuck hookers. How's that kind of degeneracy going to help us win the culture war here? How's that kind of degeneracy going to bring down the same single moms he says not to marry? How's that going to help that? It's not. How's it going to help with male STDs? It's not. How's it going to help men not commit suicide? It's not going to do any of those things. The guy is fucking stupid. And you people who talk like, it's like you can't follow a debate.
Oh, but they got you on this one. Are non-state recognized unions subject to the family court? Does palimony exist? If the answers to any of these questions is yes, then Andrew was factually wrong when debating CGA.
No, not only was I not factually wrong, I pointed out that there was only certain states where that was correct. It was pulled up in fact check, and I was right. Because I'm always right.
Andrew made an absolute claim that non-state recognized unions can't end up in family court, aka divorce court. Also, he has a marriage contract himself.
Yes, but so do you think, like, for instance, out of all the men who are in here, I probably have the most robust belly. But do you think that if I point out that another guy is fat, that means because I also am fat, that I can't point that out? It doesn't matter if I have a marriage contract. I can still point out flaws in marriage contracts. It has no bearing whatsoever on an argument.
Yeah.
You, chatter, are fucking stupid. And much like Coach Dipshit can't follow a coherent argument. Just follow the argument. That's all I ask. The argument was simple. The argument that I was making is if you're inclined to get married, right? Remember the topic is marriage in the West, not divorce in the West. If you're inclined to be married, which form of marriage is going to give you the best outcomes to mitigate disaster? It's very clear that since Orthodox marriage, 9% divorce, Catholic marriage is, I've seen it as low as 18%, depending on the Pew study, as high as 21 or 23%. It's still your best bet out of all of them. And if you agree, and the Coach Dipshit did, that marriage has all sorts of benefits for men and you want to engage in those benefits, then don't you want to go for the thing that mitigates the most amount of risk? Answer, yes. Simple. His audience, and I'm just going to point this out to all of you who might be here right now, who are Coach Dipshit's audience. That guy is one of the dumbest fucking people that I have ever sat across from and debated, bar none. And I have no expectation that anybody who's following him is any different. Just want to point that out.
Beautiful.
Boom.
Boom.
Debates have never been harder to organize. We struggle to find anyone willing to debate people like Andrew, Myron, etc. Credit to Destiny for being one of the few willing to debate. Well,
yeah. And I know this because Tim Pool has a really hard time casting them to come on and do his culture war. Like, or they want to get paid, they cancel last minute, they always back out. It's they're pussies, dude.
And tell that guy, instead of sending in super chats and wasting my time with his dumbass straw man, to just call into my stream and I'll just debate him directly and make him look as stupid as I did Coach Dumbass. That's easy, right? And he's not sending in enough anyway.
The Crucible Crew.
Crucible. If you're gonna shit post, it has to be
Yeah.
$20.
Crucible Crew drown out all of Red Pill dipshit CGA's audience with actual cash.
This was good because we talked about this one already. Thank you for interjecting. Let's see. While we have Myron and Andrew, what do you think about Sartain's statement? You don't need to sleep with 50 women, but you need 50 women to want to sleep with you. Building attraction / pre-selection. We just talked about this.
It's a fair assessment. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I've said it many times. Like that 50. Like people are so stuck on the
I
number.
know.
They are.
That's your
crazy.
vasectomy for me.
It's like so crazy how like people like take it and it's like, oh, well, I'm at 49. Okay, sorry, babe, can't get married. Like, no, it's like I say that. So I just want guys to be in a position where they understand female nature and have the red pill awareness to navigate dating in the marriage marketplace in an intelligent fashion. Now, some guys are higher IQ. They could figure it out after one girl. Some guys, you look at like Nick, he's a virgin, understands females, great. But let's be honest, most dudes are fucking stupid and retarded. And I like, as much as I say men are women are stupid,
Like
a lot of you
Coach's
motherfuckers are retarded too. Like a lot of guys, they need to get their hand burned on the stove. They think that their style of game works, simping on women. Because when it comes to dealing with women and attractive women, a lot of guys have fucking egos.
Yeah.
So they'll think, even though their methodology isn't optimal, they think it's the best methodology.
Yeah.
And what's happening is they have to make mistake after mistake after mistake to realize, oh, this doesn't work. Then by then maybe it's 10 girls, 20 girls, 30 girls, and it takes them that number to figure it out. But if you're a higher IQ guy, you can figure it out after just a few. Now, my thing, and I like that where it says you need at least 50 women to want to sleep with you. Yes. Like ideally, look, if you could figure it out after 20, 30, whatever, or less, the less the better for you. But the reality is I just know most guys are stupid.
Yeah.
So I have to go off the lowest common denominator since most people are retarded.
Well, and remember that I made the counter argument of value when me and Myron discussed this on his show. So my argument, my basic argument against this is just that I don't give prostitutes or promiscuous women, I consider that of no moral value. And what I don't want is a normalization that there is moral value there because it's useful for men to use them to wipe their dicks off to understand female nature. I don't want to ascertain any moral value that way to these types of women. So I do think it's a better proposition that Sartain offers just on this particular point when he says it's important that they want to sleep with you, not necessarily important that you actually sleep with them. That's
no, I mean, I can definitely see that perspective because at that point you built yourself up. But to get that position where they want to sleep with you, you had the traits to be attractive in the first place and the pre-selection. So like, because the thing is with guys, like women have this superpower. One of the few things they can actually do right. They have a fantastic ability, this uncanny ability to like detect when a guy has women that want him.
Yes.
Like they can just feel it when they talk to you and your mannerisms, the way you behave, the way you convey yourself. They're like, oh, this guy's getting laid. Okay. So, but in order for you to get that confidence, it's very difficult to do it without actually getting laid. Like some guys can exude it without getting laid, but most guys are going to need to actually be getting that real repetition and really getting these women to be able to exude that nature, that feeling that the women can get off that they can notice.
Let's go back to your high IQ comparison. I think Dave Smith is high IQ, and I think Steven Crowder is high IQ, and I think they both made a mistake by not getting a prenup. Steven Crowder, we can see obviously. And then with the Dave Smith thing, he was on your show, and he goes, "The rest of you guys need a prenup." But I don't need a prenup because my wife is never leaving me. He said this on the show. No, I totally understand what you're saying. And he was not joking. He goes, I understand, but you don't understand. My wife is so in love with me. I don't need a prenup. You guys need a prenup, but I don't need one. And I'm like, oh my God, bro. So here's the problem. The thing is, there's the software update of social media. There's the narcissism that's been developed by social media, dating apps. And then additionally, people can develop mental illness late in life. You don't know. I've also seen a situation, and we've had discussions about this, where people put on 100 pounds of fat and their brain doesn't work right anymore. And so that's another thing that can happen. So that woman that
or
you're
they're
with,
just on the wrong medication for a bum knee.
Yeah, there you go.
They're on the wrong medication for a bum knee, and the wires get crossed, and they become a different human being overnight. Yes, of course that happens. One thing, and poor Steve, the guy did it right. He did it exactly right. He did exactly what he was supposed to do. He had a Christian marriage, married a virgin. He himself was, right? They had a beautiful family. He did everything right. And the thing is, though, is that the sewing circle Christians got in his head about what he was supposed to do in his marriage, what he wasn't supposed to do in his marriage. And because he thought he did everything right, he ended up getting really fucked by the bad advice. And that's the thing about the red pill advocacy that I always say is good. It's a descriptive packet, right? It's a descriptor of things, not a prescriptive packet.
Yeah.
And if he had had access to that descriptive packet before he had gotten married, what had happened with him and Hillary Crowder would not have fucking happened. It wouldn't have happened because Sartain's right. He is high IQ. And the problem is that shit was not, you got to remember for our generation, mine and Crowder's, that shit wasn't available. There wasn't anything like that. It wasn't there.
You had to go looking for it. Like
not only that, but
actively.
even if we went looking for it, it was hard to find. You know, it was easier to find.
This whole
It
red
was
pill
easier to
stuff-
find money
Dude,
laying
this-
in the street.
Literally,
we
like
don't
5
advertise.
Literally, not even
Yeah.
what less 5 years ago. This red pill stuff was still very underground.
Yeah.
That's
Like,
why they
very
hate it so
underground.
much. All the feminists hate it so much.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
that-
want to talk
that's-
underground? I'll tell you,
Drag
20
jump.
years of
Yeah.
underground.
So, like when I say like the people who really get stuck on the 50 number, I just want guys to understand female nature. How you get there is up to you. But I understand since most men like need to bang their head on the wall a few times, it might take them 50 to figure it out. But if you can figure it out in less, fantastic. Because the ideal situation is to get with a female that isn't a 304, that's going to respect you, that's going to follow you, etc. Because I just understand that religion, unfortunately, it will keep some women in line, but it won't keep others in line. And I saw some of the debate that you and CJ were having, where you were saying, look, I understand that marriage is a institution that's dangerous in today's day and age, but this is why we need to remove the state, make it religious only, because religion is a very good buffer on female hypergamy to shame them, right? Because you have the
Social,
community,
yeah, the social.
you have
core.
these social things where they keep women in line. And if you if you're able to kind of like fix in that way, that's great. Because I've said that before too. Like, if you want to go ahead and get married, just do it religiously. Don't do it with the state.
Yeah.
And then adding the component of shame and community, that will make them want to stay in the marriage more. And
along
that's
with
one way to combat.
along with propaganda.
Yeah.
And the basic
That's one way to
idea,
combat the
the
situation we
basic
have today.
idea too, the idea is, well, that's some possible future. It's like, no, that's right now, right this second. The Orthodox and Catholic churches are keeping families together by doing this, by having the social ecclesiastical authority to help govern people's marriages. And they do a good job. And the thing is if the women are involved heavily in the church, that becomes part of their social circle. And you know, as well as I do, that most women are the sum of their social circle, just like men are. And divorce as a social contagion, right? And leaving your man, social contagion often. If you're around a woman who's divorced, what happens? She starts telling the other women,
Absolutely.
get fucking divorced.
It's literally cancer.
It's cancer. Yeah, it's a social contagion. So the churches right this second, the traditional churches are assisting men with this. And if it's the case that you want to get married right now, there's nothing valuable about secular marriage. It's totally garbage. It's always been fucking trash. And it was always going to lead to this. Marriage to me only is religious.
Yeah, I agree.
And so, so if that's the case,
It
we're
is a
talking about
religious
marriage,
institution.
that it's a religious institution. The religious institutions ought to be what's governing it. And when they do, man, the outcomes are better. Now, how does that affect secularists? The idea here, Andrew, okay, what about all the secularists? Well, secularists shouldn't get married. What is the value of getting married if you're a secular? It's a religious institution. What are you even doing getting married? It's worthless to most of them. And that will put them in a terrible position.
And that's why gays
But
cannot get
but
married.
let me ask you, if you had to get married right now today, right this second, and it was blind, you just had it, and all you knew was this, that you could pick between a secular woman, a Catholic woman, or an Orthodox woman. Those were your three choices. Okay. And you were going to be stuck with them forever, right? And you didn't want them to cheat. What would you pick?
Who's the hottest?
For a long-term marriage, I'd go with or the more religious woman, the Orthodox.
Yes, the Orthodox or the Catholic, of course.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. So then the idea, so what we've just established is very simple then.
Yeah.
The idea is if you're going to get married right now and you want a prescription right now, Myron just told you that the only prescription is going to be that you're married to a woman who's heavily religious in a heavily religious institution, and you are too, or don't fucking do it. And that was what the debate with CGA was.
Yeah.
And what he didn't understand because he couldn't shut the fuck up long enough to hear what the argument was.
It was crazy because I listened to some of it and I totally understood your argument because I've said that before. I said, look, if you can get married without the state involved and have like what I call training wheels, right? Like, these social training wheels. Because with women, what I've realized is like their kryptonite is shame. The religious institutions do that for you.
Yes.
You better not leave.
What? The priest is going to go and govern your sex life?
Yeah.
Well, they don't go in your bedroom and do that. No. They don't need to.
Yeah.
Because what happens is the entire social order of the religious institution. What's my proof?
It does not
Islam. What's my proof? Islam.
Yeah.
What's my proof? Right? If you're inside of a religious nation, those women fucking behave. Holy shit, they behave. When you're inside of this nation, right? If you're inside the traditional churches, they're not beaten down like what they do with Islam. They don't have to wear shufas around their head. They don't have to be second class. They don't have to do any of that. But their behavior is governed within a social circle and with priests who are assisting as spiritual fathers inside of their lives with a community that helps with serious marriage problems. Marriages have serious problems.
Of course.
And what secularists do is they go to psychologists who are 20-year-old bimbos fresh out of school. They don't know shit about nothing.
Yeah,
they don't know shit about nothing.
Like, yeah.
So 95% of psychologists under the age of 30 are female.
Wow.
95. There are more. And by the way, when it comes to primary education, there are more female military pilots than there are male. There are more female fighter pilots than there are male kindergarten
completely
teachers.
overrepresented in every conceivable way because the path to entryway is really easy. When you're studying the idea of the mind, right? This is not a physical thing, which is why, I don't consider psychology science. I consider it not even pseudoscience or soft science. I just consider it garbage, just intellectual garbage. And ultimately, it has a really bad track record. And the fact of the matter is that the women who are now in control of it, they tend to give the most awful relationship advice on planet Earth, which is why when psychologists come on, they talk with Myron. Myron fucking obliterates them. I mean, just
because they prioritize like psychology now. Especially when it comes to it's become femme-centric. It's more about women being happy versus just like making it work. And the thing with the religious stuff, because I've said this so many times, and it's crazy how like people just take the 50 thing and they don't talk about all the other things. I say, well, if you have this could work as well. What I've realized with women is like their kryptonite is shame. And if you can instill that shame, whether through religion, through community, or a combination thereof, you significantly mitigate her divorcing you and leaving you, because now she has an incentive to stay versus having an incentive to leave, which is what secular marriages do. They prop the woman up to want to leave. So if you're able to get
as much incentive as possible to it.
Exactly. Yep. So what the religion does, especially with a community, the secular incentives of financial leaving to have your money gone. Now she has incentives to stay because all her friends are married. They'll work with her through her problems. And then also she doesn't want to be the only one that's like leaving. Like, oh, what are you, 3 or 4?
You can't participate in any of the fun stuff with your community anymore.
Exactly. And now she's ostracized. And that works. That's the best tactic.
And you want even
women.
more proof for what Myron is saying? That's so great. If you want to see like the cult Christian religions, like the extreme Mormons and stuff like this, where you ask them, you say, why did you stay? You ask the women, like, why did you stay? And they're like, well, I didn't want to leave my community of friends. I didn't want to leave my community of friends, and I didn't want to leave my community of and that's they are the sum of the women around them.
You use the communitarian, like their need for a communitarian like society.
Yes.
You use it against them.
Yes, use it against them. And if it's the case that women, and this is the case, by the way, if it's the case that you have a woman who's hanging out with a bunch of whores, what does she become, Myron?
Oh, yeah, it's cooked. She's gonna.
What does she becomes? And if you have a wife and she's hanging out with a bunch of divorced women, what should that man do, Myron?
You should get the fuck out of there.
Because
it is like
it's always the case.
It's because it's like it's so wild to me how like if you, and it sounds fucked up to even say this, but the reality is like you have to like almost set things up with buffers to protect your relationship in advance. Religion's a way to do it. Her friend, making sure her friend group aren't whores is a way to do it. But, I think really like the biggest thing is you need to have some trigger effect where if she does something to you that's going to mess you or her up, there's going to be enormous shame. That's their kryptonite. And I would argue feminism, the basis of feminism in itself is to remove shame. Oh, you want to go get educated?
Whole thing.
Don't get shame.
Yes.
You won't get shame for it. You want to be a 304? You can go ahead. We're going to remove the shame.
You want to have an abortion?
Yeah.
No shame. You want to abandon your kids? No shame.
Exactly.
You want to abandon your family? No shame. You want a career where you neglect your children? No shame. Don't let no man tell you nothing. The patriarchy's just trying to enslave you. You're totally right.
That's what feminism. Dude, I've been thinking about this like at night. I'm like, feminism is literally nothing more than just removing shame from female behavior. That's what it is.
And removing force.
Yeah.
It's removing force and it's removing I agree. Sartain brought this up in an earlier interview he did. It hasn't been released yet, but it's worth talking about now. You referenced these as societal stopgaps.
Yes.
You called these societal stopgaps, and you had a few that I think you should share besides just religion that were really good.
Yeah. So I talked about one was like we talked about before with the Myron Gaines effect, where this is for the longest time. So basically when you had the discussion with CGA, he was talking about, oh, this is fairy tale land, getting people to change their beliefs and you said, well, no, we did this in the 1950s. This is how we'd have a sisterhood of women who would shame them. You left your kids, you left your wife. That's horrible. And CGA was like, oh no, that would never work. Now this is fairy tale land. And I'm like, I just watched this president who has been called a racist and a Nazi for the longest time
get elected,
get elected, but get elected with so many more minority voters who would have never voted for him previously are doing so. And then we can also look at other things like,
but I brought this up as an argument. Like, we can see that the social paradigm is changing. And right now there are things that you can do to mitigate serious amounts of risk. But let's point this out as you bring up this societal stopgap. When you're referencing the 50s, and Myron, maybe I get your input on this.
Yeah, sure.
My wife, she puts in occult feminism, the idea of the sisterhood can actually be beneficial to men in this way. It used to be that it was the case that if you were acting like a whore, the women went nuts on you, and they went ballistic because they thought if the men come over and start fucking you, they're not going to marry us.
Yeah.
So they would go ballistic, and they would scarlet letter their ass, right? And they would shame them, and they would run them out as the village whore, right?
Yep.
And Rachel gives tons of examples of this from the historic standard. Why is that not possible now? I think it is.
Yeah, it's definitely possible. But like that's where feminism comes in. Feminism came in literally to destroy that, that whole shaming thing. So if we can get that back, that would be a component. Like, the thing is, like, with both of you guys, I understood both your arguments, because you're saying, look, you can absolutely use the institution of religion in modern day society to keep women in line. And I could see that, because I've said that myself. Marry a woman in the mosque, remove her if you're Muslim, or marry in the church if you're Christian, remove her incentive to divorce you and destroy you financially. Like, if you remove all these things, you mitigate risk significantly. And then you add in the component of a community and shame. She ain't going nowhere most of the time.
Plus a prenup?
And a prenup, yeah. Now it's like you're an idiot if you leave. But I see his perspective is like, well, a lot of women aren't religious. Fair. That's cool. I get that. But this is why it's so important.
But then that's not marriage anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
So who cares? It's not marriage anyway. My view, marriage can only exist from so when you say marriage in the West, when you say secular marriage, it doesn't register. That's not marriage. It doesn't. To me, it's an incoherent babble.
Yeah.
Right.
Secular marriages don't work, and I agree with you 100%.
Yeah. They not only do they not work, right, but we can see now the writing on the wall of what happens when secularists get married, and we now see the progression of now it's going to be 3 men getting married and adopting a child, or 4 women who get married to one guy, and then we end up with a polygynous relationship with children, and it creates all sorts of havoc. Right. Secular marriage is a fucking disaster. Yeah. So yeah, my advice if you're a secularist, I wouldn't get married. It's a terrible idea.
I do want to point this out because this is a pretty important.
And it's crazy because you guys would have probably agreed on that.
We did agree right from the beginning. But my definition of marriage does not include secularism.
Yeah. So I want to point this out because you said marriage isn't for everyone. So you bring up the idea of secularists, and you also bring up the idea that I've heard you in other debates talk about not everyone, the majority of men did not get to reproduce.
Correct.
So whereas maybe someone like Matt Walsh is like, no, all of you need to get married. I don't know what you guys are doing. You need to repopulate the earth. The major distinction, and I think a lot of people understand, is that you're not saying for every guy to get married, but you do espouse the positivity. You said a virtuous woman that you can raise children.
If you're debating the proposition about marriage in the West, we have to define what is marriage. From my view, marriage is only a religious sacramental institute. And that's
an important detail.
What you guys are talking about is some kind of bizarre state contract, which would be fucking stupid for anybody to sign. That's the stupidest shit in the world, right? Me and my wife, crowning ceremony with our priest, right? In God's sacramental entire community, a whole community available online, offline, to help us with marital issues, society, problems that may come up, just huge resources there available to us.
Not some bimbo feminist.
Not some bimbo feminist psychologist, right? So for me, I don't even register that secular marriage is a thing, right? Now, can it be beneficial from the church's perspective? Would we say that I wouldn't recognize your marriage if you were secular? No, I'd recognize it because I think you're on the process to moving towards religion. And so I would recognize it and say that's good that you're moving towards the church. But in general, in societal terms, it's generally bad for secularists to get married for all parties involved because of children. We got children involved. And it's just terrible for them, for the divorce, for everything else. So that's one. Then the flip side to this is like, if it's the case that you want to engage in all the benefits of marriage, you want the benefit part for men, which he agrees. Marriage used to be a once great institution. He opens with this. Agreed. But what made it great? Well, what made it great was that reinforcement was there from the religious base and the social shaming aspect. And so if that's
Extremely
the case,
powerful.
yeah, and if that's the case that you want in your corner the benefits of marriage without the risk, religious marriage is the only way.
And you know what? I'm really glad that we're having this conversation, because on this side of the internet, we tend to talk a lot about how marriage is bad, don't do it, etc., why it's awful, but we never really discuss in detail how to go about it in the best way to mitigate risk. There's always going to be risk, right?
Always.
But I think you brought up a really good point there, and I wish more people like heard that, like where you're saying, I don't even recognize secular marriage. You got to do it from a religious standpoint for it to work. Like, so people are already messing up by being secular about it in the first place. And I agree that when you make it a religious institution, remove the state, make it strictly with the religion, add in all these shaming components and these like almost like these fail safes, it makes it very
the stopgaps,
indestructible, yes. Yeah, or stopgaps. It makes it very, very powerful. And this is a way to navigate the marriage conundrum in a safe manner.
And where are young men going? Where are they going? They're flocking to the church.
Yeah, a lot of them
to
are
the
buying,
traditional
Bible
churches.
Sales are up significantly.
And why are they flocking to the traditional churches? It's not just because they want to get themselves their base trad wife. It's because it's the one place left where there's still a social institution that actually recognizes masculinity, won't punish you for it, one.
Yep.
And then two, it actually gives men resources. And one of the biggest failings that we have for men of all ages, it doesn't matter if you're 90 now, and it doesn't matter if you have just turned 18. The amount of resources that are available for you as a man is garbage. And the amount of resources that's available for all women is massive.
And they give you massive resources to destroy your marriage. There's an entire and Rollo's written about this extensively, an entire like Divorce Inc. Like there's a divorce
divorce industrial complex.
It goes,
Yeah.
I mean, like Jim Sexton has talked about this before too. It goes from prior to you getting married to you having the wedding, to you being in a marriage, to dealing with all your problems in marriage, to the separation, to the divorce, to the child, child care, to alimony, to post-divorce stuff and everything that comes out, and then getting back into it again, get back into the trend.
Yeah, I honestly think that sometimes like the secularists, the chicks just get married because they want to have a wedding.
Oh, 100%.
They just want to have a wedding and a ring and the photos on Instagram.
They want to,
like if Instagram didn't exist and if the actual wedding day didn't exist, I don't think that any of these chicks would be getting married.
Bro. Attention, yeah.
They want to get married, but they don't want to be wives. Like I've said that so many times. Like they want the ceremony, they want to walk down, be the attention. It's like their like ultimate orgasm because like they're the center of attention. It's like their day.
It's not just their center of attention. Like for a man might say, "Well, I have a lot of women who want to sleep with me, and I'm proud of it." A woman, her win, her W is going to be, I got a high status man to commit,
make me an honest woman,
and not only is he going to commit to me, everyone's going to see this, and everyone's going to show this on their phone, and they're going to put on IG stories, and everyone's going to see his commitment towards me.
Absolutely.
I reckon honestly, one of the best tests you could do if you're going to get married to a chick, say, you know what, I'm going to use the wedding money that we would have used, and we're going to invest in some assets, and we're not going to have a wedding. See what she says.
Put a down payment on the house.
Or how about this? How about this? At the wedding, there'll be no photos or video.
Yeah.
And then see how that works.
No Instagram, no flexing.
I would just point out, like me and Jake were talking earlier about this.
Good test.
About this idea when you're talking about secular marriage. Yeah, it's a racket. Yeah. It's a racket. I mean, at this point, it's so exposed and overexposed as being a racket. And it's a massive industry, as you pointed out in multitudes of your books. But the thing is like what men have lost, what's gone from society without patriotism, which is gone, it's destroyed, right? Completely destroyed. We used to pledge allegiance to the flag, right? We used to have some kind of sense of community. So that's gone. All of the kind of traditional things that we used to do to have a sense of community are destroyed. And all that's left to us, and the most powerful institution left to the right, is the church. And if that's the case, and that's the place that you're going to get the maximum amount of help, doesn't mean they're going to necessarily give you tons of money, right? But they'll help you in the way that you really need, which is community. It's other men. So what do other men always do? Andrew, you're too fat, work out more. Right? Andrew, you need to do this.
Look what it did.
Hey, what the hell is wrong?
Well,
you can't get some new clothes, Andrew. Come on. Hey, man, your beard's not looking the best or the most crisp, right? It's always a sense of poking and prodding for improvement, and also to assist you in being better, not being worse.
This hot broad just sent this in here. Look, Rachel Wilson says, let's not forget that when Andrew says the church, he does not mean the church. 90% or more of American churches have been completely feminized. Great show, guys.
Yeah, I was going to say this point as well. It's like, the sewing circle Christians and those chicks and the girls who go into the church at like 32 years old once they're done with their hoe phase and they get baptized in some like inflatable pool
Oh, it's
or,
awful.
or something. Like we don't claim
the Nala Ray, right? Born again to minister to you, Mr. Orthodox Smoky Man who's bad. I would point out.
I got a question for you after
go
this,
ahead.
Andrew. No, go ahead.
Well, I would just point out she's right. This is why I caveat this. The traditional churches.
Yeah.
So these are three categories: Orthodox, Catholic, and there's some Protestant high churches which follow in the models of those. And because they do have serious ecclesiology behind what they're doing. And so these are people who study marriage. They're often counselors themselves, and they hyper focus on helping their flock do what they're supposed to do, which is stay married, give the resources, the sacraments, all of the things that give those sense of community and spiritualism.
How would someone find it?
What,
Like
orthodoxy? You walk in the door.
Well, no, but it was like, because most churches are bullshit, right? Like they're just feminized. How does someone that doesn't know anything find
Make
a
sure
real
that
church?
your church tradition is over 300 years old at least. Okay. And most of them ain't.
Right.
Okay. Most of them are not. But if they're 2,000 years old, they're probably a lot more trustworthy. If they're 1,000 years old, probably a lot more trustworthy. If they sprung up in the strip mall and it's a 10-year-old tradition, probably not the church you're looking for. If it's been around since the 80s, probably not the church you're looking for.
Yeah, it's a big problem.
If it's got an LGBTQ flag, not the church. If it's got a woman pastor, not the church. Okay. Like
Also,
the list goes on and on.
Andrew, I think it's also important that you because you're an Orthodox Christian,
Yeah.
right? So there's I guess and please correct me if I lack a better term here, but a higher barrier to entry.
Yes, much higher barrier. So the thing is we're catechized for at least 2 years. We're not allowed to be baptized until we've had a proper catechism into the church, and you'll get rejected. Many people get rejected until they complete their catechesis, meaning it's at the priest's discretion. They're like, look, you're not ready for this yet. You're still out, sniffing coke or being a wild animal or whatever it is. We're not ready to induct you into the church. The Catholic Church is the same way. And some of the high church Protestants are the same way. There's a barrier for entry. It takes a long time to get there.
All right, I got $100 super chat. Hold on. Sniper says, here you go.
Christ is God.
And just quickly, Myron, I've heard you talk about this a lot, that
Yeah.
like, women are, 80% of the consumer market? Rollo, I've
Yes.
heard you say this as well.
Mhm.
We've got this gynocentric social order. So if you think about it in terms of the churches, who are they going to try and appeal to? If you start up a
Good
church,
point.
you've got a denomination, you want to bring people into the door, you want to get donations.
Good point.
Whereas the Catholic and I go to an Orthodox church in Australia, they own the whole block. Like they don't ask me for anything when I get in there.
Gotcha.
They don't really, need me that much.
Yeah.
And the truth
and it
is,
lets them be more honest and really because
Yeah.
there's no financial incentive.
yeah. And the thing is like I always say to young men who are going into the church, be a servant for the church. Put your efforts towards being a good member of that church community. And just like everything else, you get out of what you put in. And if you're being a good servant to the church, isn't it amazing? The church seems to take good care of you.
This guy, Jill Figs, wants to know, Myron, would you offer to moderate Andrew Wilson versus CGA round 2 on an actual debate with questions
Sure.
answered?
Yeah. I'd be happy to do that because I think both of you guys, I don't think either of you were wrong. I think he totally misinterpreted your position because I see that he didn't let you really explain what you were trying to say because that makes 100% sense. You don't even recognize secular marriages. Right. That's huge. That's a big detail.
Well, the thing is that I would love to do it so that it was timed.
Yeah,
sure.
Just so that I could
get
the points out and demonstrate to the world just how fucking stupid this guy is.
Okay, how about this one? CGA started debating himself at one point in the debate, but also, when are we going to get an evolution debate between Mike and Andrew?
I'm actually down to do it whenever Mike is.
Okay.
I'm down to do an evolution debate whenever.
Want to do it?
That
was one of 4 super chats asking the same thing.
I'm happy to do it. I don't usually do evolution debate. I will. Jim Bob is way more skilled than I am.
Okay.
So I would recommend actually that matchup made by Jim Bob versus Michael Sartain. I'm sure Myron would happily host that one as well.
Yeah, I could do that. No problem.
And if they won't, you guys could do it on the Crucible, right? But I think that he would be a better because it's more his jam. You know what I mean?
I said it first.
We can all multi-stream it. I can you can put it on your channel. Me and Andrew can even moderate it and put it just so it gets more views.
Sure.
We could put it both go live. moderate it or be witness, and then that you guys just go back and forth and debate and put on a big platform.
I called shotgun.
A great roundtable discussion with common sense. Please do more of them. Oh, really? You mean without all the girls that you guys were complaining that we didn't have in the beginning of the show? Imagine that. We did a high quality stream with no chicks on the show.
I think one of the most
That's the
valuable
most high
things
quality
we discussed on this thing is because we talk, like I said before, we talk so much about how bad marriage is or whatever, but there's guys out there that actually do want to get married and find a way to build a family. And I've said it before, if you want to have kids, the best way to do it is through a marriage. And, you know, how can guys navigate that? And I think doing it with the religious route is really the only way.
See, that's the thing is like whenever I'm dealing with guys like Matt Walsh or Michael Knowles or any of these guys, especially like the guys who think like I am in some way like anti-marriage. I'm not anti.
You're married.
Clearly, I'm not anti-marriage. I've been married
You're
for
married.
29 freaking years. I've been married longer than most of these guys have been married. I wrote the Rational Male. What else do you want me to? You know,
You've
what
been
else
married
do you want
longer
me to
than a lot of
qualify it?
the people on the internet have been alive.
Right? And so they don't know what to do with me because, like, here I am, a happily married guy who's been married for quite some time, still very much in love with my wife. Had one kid. Sorry, I should have had 10. I guess I'm a failure as a husband and a man. But the thing
Do you wish you had more?
Not really. I like the one we had one child by design.
Like if you could though, if you had a magic wand, you could go back and you're like only
I don't think
3-4 years in, would you have had another one?
No, because and then also my brother has a son and a daughter too, so I kind of consider them my kids as well.
Gotcha.
So,
a lot of sense of family there.
But we did it by design. But the thing is like this is why I will never get past the gate. Like I'll get up to the gate, but they won't let me pass the gate because they don't know what to do with me once I'm past the gate, especially when it comes to the topic of marriage, because everyone thinks that I'm anti-marriage because I bring up the facts, I bring up the stats, I bring up the data and everything else. I'm not saying I'm against it. I'm just against the way we do it now.
And now we can even add in, we're against secular marriages,
which is what most people redefine it there.
Now we can even, because
that way,
now that specificity changes the game because a lot of guys get married in a secular fashion. How many times they get married in church? That's the first time they've been for 3 years
in a church. Yeah.
Like it's for their wedding. So
and we see the stats. The more religious you are, the more that you take it seriously, right? The better that not only the marriage is, but the outcomes for your children. The less likely that you're going to ever be hooked on alcohol or drugs. Less likely that you're going to have bad outcomes yourself personally or your wife. Less likely that you're going to get divorced. Like every outcome for you increases drastically with religiosity.
Yeah, you know, and it'd be interesting to see, like, if you like they'd probably never be able to replicate this study, ethical reasons. But like, if you looked at the people that like got married with the church and with the state involved, a lot of those people probably were fairly secular. Probably first time they've been in a church for years, right? They don't go regularly. They just went because we were born Christian and we're just going to go ahead and do this thing. So they did it from a ceremonial perspective.
Yeah.
So, you know, that probably would account for a lot. But I was going to ask you this, Andrew. What are your thoughts? Because I really want to get your take on this. What are your thoughts on all these like OnlyFans women that are like converting and saying they found God? They're turning to the church. Like, I'm sure a lot of them might be genuine about it, but you know,
people ask me often, do you and your wife debate? Do me and Rachel debate? We don't really very much. We debated on this issue.
She's more anti-feminist than you are.
Unless it's about the moon.
Rachel is, she's twice as brutal and she's more based than me. It's just the truth, right?
Yeah,
she is. She's awesome.
Hardcore against feminism.
And the thing is we debated back and forth on this issue. Like, what is it? And we both kind of settled on, it's about control. More than anything, it's about control. Let me explain what I mean by this.
Yeah, please.
When it's the case that you're a 21-year-old girl in this society and you go on Instagram and you post a little nudie of yourself or a bra pic or something like that, instant validation, man. 20,000 likes. Girl, you're so beautiful. You're so gorgeous. You're the best. You're the this, you're the that. But just like with podcasting or other events of fame, it's scalable. So if you're a man who's making $20 million a year and you go down to $1 million a year, you think you're a failure. You think you're a failure. You're failing, right? Even though you're wildly successful, right? But you think you're failing. And the same thing, your live chat starts to decrease, things like this. Even though you had 50,000 and now it's 15,000, which is still massive, you feel like you're a failure. Women have the same exact thing when it comes to validation from men.
To garner attention from the opposite gender.
Garner attention. Yeah.
Good
so
point,
they go, oh man, 20,000 went to 10,000. I'm a failure. I'm failing. I don't have the instant validation button anymore. And now we fast forward to when they can go to church and have control for what? Instant validation. Instant validation. And so what happens? What happens when Nala Ray converts and posts that to Instagram? What happens to the validation?
It's a new form. It's a new toy.
Oh my God, it's 100-fold what she was getting, right? It's and that's what I think it's about, is control, and not necessarily just the control over the men in the church, but control over that idea of validation, the control over the idea that wait, I can't get this dopamine, I can't get the validation like I used to anymore, but this conversion, man, like look at Nala's progression. Anytime she's kind of, people forget about her, somehow she pops right the fuck back up, right? Talking about how whatever podcast abused her, right? And Smokey Man Bad. Suddenly it's a million. Oh, girl, I can't believe it. Well, it's a validation machine.
Brittany Renner did it with Islam. I've seen plenty of girls do it with Christianity, like these religions that want to save people.
To Brittany Renner, man? The last time I saw her, she was in like some hijab.
But am I
next
wrong?
time she looks like Jackie Brown with.
and I wanted to get your take on this because, like, you know, as obviously someone who's like an Orthodox Christian and actually like practices and understand there's a real barrier to entry. Like, I was like, well, I want to get Andrew's take on this because I've seen a lot of girls either do it with Christianity, like I'm converted, I found Jesus, or even some girls like
if
I
it
found
was
Islam.
the case really that they were converting because they had made a mess of their life and they were sorry about it, you'd never hear from them again.
There you go.
That's a good point.
Yeah, you would never hear from them again. That's what they would do, or you would hear one last thing. You would just hear, "I'm really sorry," and in humility and repentance, right? I'm going to go take some time with the church and my church fathers to get my shit together. And maybe they come back in 5 years, great. And then you get the welcome, right? Then you get the wow, you know, but you don't go, well, I went and got baptized at heresychurch.com, right? And now I'm going to tell you how to be the right kind of Christian. Fuck you, right? That's what I told her. I'm not going to take advice from a woman who's had 50 dicks in her mouth. You're out of your mind. And what man would?
And what kind of was she? Was it non-denominational or
non-denominational? And she started her own ministry immediately, which was
Kajabi
exactly what I said would happen. Stephen Crowder did a whole expose on it. She started.
Women could be ministers?
No, but she started an online ministry.
It sounds profitable.
Where she called herself. She calls herself on the online.
That's why I asked Andrew on this stuff.
Have you seen the website?
No, I haven't.
Oh yeah, she called herself.
She's got about 50 courses. I'm not even joking. How to like stop doing porn. How to be a good steward of your wealth for God, and all these sorts of things. Just course.
Just cashing in on another way.
And it's all. But here's the thing: all of that promotion that she did led to the selling of those ministry courses with her and her husband. And she calls herself a minister. She calls herself the ministry of. And so the thing is like the whole thing. And by the way, I called this before anybody. Oh, you said, right? Okay. Called this that she was a minister before. And I said, you're going to do a ministry. I can see it. You know, no, I'm not a minister. I'm not. And yes, she was. She was setting the whole thing up. And so the thing that's really funny about it is like I gave her a lot of grace, like I do everybody. You know what I mean? Maybe she's authentic. And I told people back off until we see what she does. I was on a panel with you where I said it. I said, look, you know, I'm not going to say anything about this yet. I see Pearl's going hard. A lot of people are going hard. I'm going to welcome her into the fold until she shows me reason not to. And she instantly showed me reason not to. But for her, the validation, like with many of these women, the validation is they go to Twitter, Christian Twitter. I'm a Christian now, girl. And then the simps, there's as many simps as you could ever imagine. Yeah. The low tier Christos simps, right? The virtue signal simps. You're beautiful. You're regenerated in Jesus. And they're, by the way, you want to fuck? You want to fuck?
Yeah, they're all
You're regenerated
like
in Jesus. You know,
and they got an AI photo and shit.
Oh man! So this is something I've heard you talk about this before
because I've seen so many of them do it. The chick, real before you go, the girl that took the $50 million from Shannon Sharp, she gets off OnlyFans, saying I'm retiring, and the next day she puts a story of her reading the Bible, and I'm like, bro, here we go. Sam Frank, same thing. Brittany Renner, Islam. This girl Nala Ray, Christianity. I'm like, what is this like? Some kind of?
But I'll tell you the big test, and this is what I wish we could do collectively. I wish that I could get a message out to like every Christian who even self-identifies as a Christian to just say, look, for 16 weeks, you don't respond to any of these women's social media posts at all. I think almost all of them would be back doing OnlyFans.
It's happened a few times to the ones that you've debated, where they've tried to do the Christian thing, and then a few months later it doesn't work out. They're getting 100 views on their reels that they're
And they go
posting
right
about
back.
Bible studies, and then next minute they're like they're on the OnlyFans, but they're still a Christian, but they're saying I'm an empowered.
Yeah, I think
Christian.
I think where the difference is like as men. We get our validation from, like you actually talked about this in a marriage. There was status associated with
massive status for men.
So I have a wife who is loyal to me, and then I have kids, and I own a home, and I've worked really hard, and that's where we get our validation. Generally, from the compliance we get from our family and our wife. Women get their validation from the attention that they get from other people.
Well, we also get it. We don't just get it from that. We get it in social ways that you don't really recognize. For instance, bosses are more likely to hire you if you're married.
Oh yeah,
and have children, and the reason
I can tell you that from being in the government, guys that move up a lot of the times,
they're married, and the reason for that is you're a very safe bet. You're going to be dependent on the income to take care of your family, so you're probably going to work hard so that you can stay there, right? You can't transition easily out without some serious planning because you have a wife and kids to take care of. So what that creates is because that creates a non-impartial hiring practice, the employer thinks this is a safer bet. Employers move that way. That's a form of social status that over time becomes a form of social status. And it's not just that, it assists with trust, right? People are way more likely to trust people who have families than they are bachelors. Right. Why? Because they know that you have responsibilities outside of yourself. So it's less likely that you're going to be up to doing nefarious things. There's tons of small social statuses you don't even recognize.
Killers, dude. It tames serial killers.
Yeah.
BTK had a family and stopped killing.
He stopped killing,
Like the Ice Pick Killer?
No, BTK.
Dennis Rader.
In Wichita, Kansas.
Yeah, that was the bind.
He went crazy in the 70s. And then once his daughter went to college and left the house, that's actually how they caught him.
And then he started up.
And he started trying to kill again. And that's how they caught him, because I think she went did an STD test or something.
And he was also old and out of practice, right?
Yeah.
But the big thing is, yes, the social status aspect, there's 1,000 tiny ways that it adds to the social status of men that they don't even think about. And you can take one of those married men who's lower middle class and match him up against a bachelor millionaire. And in social status, from how other men view them, it's often very similar.
Yeah. Depending on what they do.
Yeah. But I mean, you're not getting looked down as an electrician, like it's and
my other men definitely not. Maybe by dumb bimbos that don't understand.
Yeah. But you're married. What do you care about the dumb bimbo? Exactly. That's the point. So I do think that there is social status which is associated with it, just in a different way.
Sure.
So.
But anyway, the thing you mentioned before, and Alex Ramosi made a great video about this, was the difference between fame and influence. So, and I'll use this example. Alex Ramosi and Brittany Renner are about as famous as one another. Alex Ramosi can fill up a room with 10,000 people. Brittany Renner looks like an idiot talking about having sex with 3 people at the same time. She's famous, and they confuse one for the other. We had a discussion a while ago about female Instagram models, whatever, trying to start their own podcast, and how it would repeatedly fail over and over again because they had
fucking
fame.
Idiots.
Exactly, because they had fame, but they did not have influence.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the things that I think it kind of gets lost, and it's frustrating, right? As a content,
we saw that in
myself.
an election in 2024.
Exactly. Yeah.
Kamala Harris, A-list celebrities, LeBron James, Taylor Swift,
Yes.
A-list celebrities that acted. But you're right, they don't have influence.
But
Trump
Byron had
all
some
social
influence.
Media. Hey, I tried, man. I was telling everybody, because we have a decent amount of because I did my a little analytic of my audience. It's white, Hispanic, blacks are the top 3. Almost 50% of my audience is Hispanic, actually.
Yeah.
Those beaners. So I was like, yo, you guys got to get out there and vote. And I was telling everyone hard in 2024. We got to get out there and vote for Trump. We got to get out there and vote for Trump. I'm going out there. You got to get out there and vote for Trump, because I knew, if Kamala got in, we already endured a whole bunch of censorship. It was only going to get worse with her.
Yeah.
So I was like, we got to get out there and vote. And then obviously we're in the middle of 2 wars. The economy sucked, all this stuff. Immigration was going nuts. So,
and you also, can we just be real?
Yeah.
You also just didn't want a woman president.
Yeah, that's actually the number one reason.
You just didn't want a woman president.
Yeah, I just didn't want a female president either. That was a big one.
Those are the classic TikTok invasions when before the election, when we go in there, so why do you want Trump to get elected? Because I don't want
a woman president.
And the traditional celebrities,
an annoying voice.
And I realize this because I want to add to what you're saying, because what you're saying is profound, and I think people need to understand this. And I'm glad that you said it, because there's a big difference between being famous and being influential. Like LeBron James is famous, worldwidely famous. But is anyone going to go out to the polls and vote for Kamala Harris because of him?
Right.
No. That's why they said shut up and fucking dribble. That's what they meant by that. Like, you are a basketball player. People know you for what you do, but you're not really influential. And this is why Donald Trump, doing the press run that he did with social media versus Kamala Harris getting traditional celebrities to endorse her, is a failed way. Correct. Because you're right. Like, especially in the new age of social media where people are more relatable to influencers than these A-list celebrities. Yeah,
So let's talk about the spectrum of social media platforms. I would say TikTok probably the furthest to the left, and like say Rumble and Twitter furthest to the right, or YouTube I think is a little bit further to the right than say Instagram. You'll see it's harder to build up an audience on YouTube because they do not credit you for pandering. TikTok will give you 8 million followers if you pander to women, because 85% of consumer transactions are female. TikTok shop is massive. So TikTok, hey, you can't even use my name as a hashtag. I'm nobody. I'm about as moderate as you can get. I had like 70 million views on there, whatever. And then they took my name off. You cannot look up you can't use my name as a hashtag anymore.
Yeah, conservatives cannot exist on TikTok.
Correct. So
only Charlie Kirk was able to do it. And that's because he had a rep there. They knew him.
Yeah.
He was with the Trump team, but I have never seen a conservative exist. Are you on this?
Well,
an actual account?
I have not been banned from TikTok, but it's because I don't do traditional TikTok content. Let's put it that way. But yes, I do very well on TikTok, but
you don't post reels.
I don't. Not only do I not post reels, I don't do lives. I don't do any of this. What I do is go into where their panels are and fucking decimate them, and so does the Crucible crew. And
but
they're
haven't
real
you had a bunch
good
of
at
accounts taken down though for doing that? No.
My main account has not been banned.
Okay.
That's impressive. I've been like 5 times.
So you don't post content. You go in there and
I
you
never
use it to
post content.
Facilitate debate. That's different.
So the thing is like there is a way to do it. You just have to be really smart about it. But ultimately, he's right. Sartain is right. TikTok is the furthest left, most evil, mechanized, fucking horrible piece of shit on planet Earth.
And Twitch.
And we've been literally, the Crucible has been fighting them back like crazy. I mean, you've seen the TikTok invasions. Yeah. We're always in there warring with the fucking TikTokers and trying to
but
hold.
you use it as a portal to debate them.
We're trying to hold. Yeah, we're trying to hold the tide back, right? Yeah. That's the whole point, because the most evil bastards on planet Earth are on that platform, man.
And
the
now,
most evil bastards.
So
of
now
course.
there are like hundreds, if not thousands, of people who listen to the Crucible who will be in there at every moment of every day debating these people.
At every moment of every day, 24 hours, 7 days a week, there's somebody in the Crucible who's in there on a panel debating.
Yeah, this is also when you look at certain women panders, like say Chris GQ Perry or Derek Jackson or something like that, they will destroy on TikTok and they will do nothing on YouTube. Right. Because on YouTube, if you want to see if you have influence, getting someone to watch a 3-hour podcast that you do or a 3-hour live stream, that's influence. Someone is willing to actually sacrifice to listen to what you're doing. If you want someone to watch a 15-second clip, that's fame. That's definitely fame, but it's not influence. And so I think that's a massive difference. Whenever I talk to someone, I always check how strong they are on these different platforms, and I can tell if you're crushing it on Instagram and you're crushing it on TikTok, but you're not doing well on X and you're not doing well on YouTube. I can tell that you pander to your audience and you don't have a ton of influence, but you may have a great deal of fame. And the other thing I want to,
we're massive on YouTube. Yeah. That's where we get to do everything.
I want to point out one other thing. He's actually politically progressive. I don't know if you guys know who Jonathan Haidt is. He wrote a fantastic book called The Happiness Hypothesis, and another one, I can't remember, The Coddling of the American Mind. He has a terrific book that's just come out, and it's called The Anxious Generation. Yeah. And in this book, he goes over, and this is the reason why I want to bring it up, because this is something that I think would help all of us, and it's on the forefront. It's cutting edge legislation, and that is to ban cell phones in junior highs and high school, make it federal legislation that they are banned, because the studies that show what happens to children when they have the access to social media through puberty, when their brain is forming, it creates basically what you see now. ADHD, high levels of narcissism, high levels of neuroticism, high levels of anxiousness. That's what's going on. And I've gotten to the point where when I talk to a girl, I ask her, when did you get your cell phone? Like that is a very important thing. If a girl says, my mom gave me a cell phone at 12. I'm like, I already know I'm dealing with an anxious, neurotic human being, most likely. And so the thing is, this is one of the reasons why I think Jonathan Haidt isn't as popular as he is. And the same thing with Richard Reeves. They are liberals, basically supporting a conservative narrative. And in doing so, that's like Richard Reeves he's a really, really good writer, but like he doesn't have have you noticed how he barely gets any?
Oh, he has no
any
play.
traction. He has no play at all.
Yeah.
Why? Is because he's a liberal writing about supporting conservatives when he goes about of boys and men failing. And so the same situation here. I think this is a big deal where I would very much support legislation to get these cell phones out of high school and out of
Jonathan
junior high.
Haidt, he's exceptionally popular amongst like the classic
Smartphones,
liberal,
right?
Yeah,
like,
smartphones. Well,
Like
and
flip phones, not a big deal. As long as they can't
access social media. Yeah.
I think
Dude,
that's
I would
a
say-
great fucking idea.
No, I agree because like we're older, so we don't know what it's like to have an iPhone at fucking 10 years old.
Yeah.
Like I can't even imagine. I didn't get a cell phone and I had a flip phone until I was 18.
Yeah.
So like
I knew I was dumb. I can look back now and say how dumb I would have been at 14 having unlimited access to pornography on my phone.
Yeah.
I know
this
I'm
generation-
stupid enough
and
to
I-
do
And I notice this when I like meet younger guys, like they're really socially awkward,
Yes.
right? Because I go to like a lot of these political events and meet these guys in person. A lot of them are socially awkward, timid, shy. They don't look you in the eye when you speak to them. Like a lot of like these weird character traits that are indicative of someone that's extremely reclusive. And that comes from like, you know, the cell phone, and we don't bully people anymore. That's another thing too.
Right.
I remember when you were socially awkward like that growing up, you're a fucking weirdo. What's wrong with you? And that would make you, oh shit, I gotta like acclimate. So we remove bullying. People are dumber. They're more anxious, etc. I agree with that, man, because I've seen this with younger people. Younger people are dumber than I think our generation was.
Here's the
Jake's
irony.
a fucking bully.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a fucking bully.
Here's the irony. He's a political progressive, and he's talking about this. And then who's he going up against? Who's saying that social media is not bad for kids? The social media companies,
Of course,
which are
right.
then owned by liberals.
Yeah.
It's become they're eating themselves. It's a crazy thing because Zuckerberg he met Jonathan Haidt and he was kind of upset with him. He was very short with him. He was like, I don't agree with your data. I don't agree with your studies or whatever. But it's blatantly obvious the difference between this generation now and my generation that used to bench press, play middle linebacker, and get into a fucking fist fight in high school, and none of that happens anymore.
Yeah, but Mike, I reckon it's even way worse. Like you've got kids now who are 2-3 years old who are literally glued to iPads.
Yes.
I've seen this. And if you take the iPad away from them, they start screaming and crying.
Yeah.
This is when your brain is the most plastic, when you're in your very early formative years.
Well,
Most parents just want to use those devices as like a pacifier, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
it
Just
does the
sedate.
parenting.
Yeah, I've
Yeah.
always noticed
Yeah.
it's like fat parents will do that. If I see
What-
fat parents, they've got their kid at the
take a
table.
walk.
fucking
So
iPad.
bad.
When you guys
They're too
walk,
lazy.
yeah,
Okay,
when you walk through the airport tomorrow,
And I want to
you're
add
gonna
something
see
to your
them all.
TikTok
Yeah.
thing, because this is something I noticed too, because I've done collabs with so many different people from different spectrums. And what I've realized is like with TikTok, like TikTok and Instagram is like dominated by females.
Yes.
Right. And they can only dominate really there. What I've noticed is influence goes like it'll translate the longer form of your content. So in other words,
Yeah.
if you're big, like if you're a big streamer or like you're on YouTube and you do longer form content and people are watching you for 15, 20 minutes, hour plus, that will translate back towards Instagram and TikTok. People
Yeah.
will gladly watch your clips and shorts, but it doesn't work the other way around. And this is where a lot of female influencers fail, like what you were saying,
Yeah.
because they're big on TikTok, big on Instagram. They could do some dancing, do some dumb shit, but they aren't really engaging past that. So their YouTube suck, right? Or when they stream, their streams suck. And there's not many females that are like, you know, very successful streamers, unless I've seen them leech off of men.
Yeah.
That's why some of these female
100%.
streamers will
Yeah.
pair up with a Neon or pair up with
Yes,
one of these
there's like
with these guys
20 of them.
because they suck. Nobody wants to watch them, so they have to leech off of men for longer.
Boy,
form
that
content,
sounds
I've noticed.
familiar.
Yeah.
So here's the other part, the other conclusion that Jonathan Haidt comes in the book. He talks about the concept of brain rot. So specifically, like he says, it's not that bad if you're with a group of friends discussing an idea on social media. It's not ideal, but it's not that bad because at least you're being social, like a chat room or something like that, or a live stream. He said the biggest problem is the brain rot on TikTok. So let's specifically talk about this because this comes back to the female narcissism thing. TikTok teaches you when I am bored with something, I swipe it away. By the way, dating apps do the same thing. I am now bored with this thing. I have no patience for it. So I'm going to swipe this bad feeling away and keep swiping until the point where I finally get the dopamine, the hit that I want. And then that dopamine's not enough. So I keep doing this for hours. I've trained my brain to, and anytime I feel any kind of negative emotion, to swipe it away and to have the attention span of nothing. And now you go out there and you hear women and you explain to them, hey, 65% of college graduates, I don't know if you guys saw the Owen Cook clip, 65% of college graduates are female. You want these men to take care of you, but they have no money because they're not being able to get a job. And the women are like, I don't fucking care.
Yeah.
Work harder. And I'm like, I am like, she doesn't recognize it because I'm sure she probably grew up as a normal person, but that is narcissistic what she's doing right now. Where does that come from? I do think it may come from the brain rot, specifically from apps like
If you want to
TikTok.
see it, I reckon the best example of it that I've probably
It's hard
ever
for them
seen.
to find a logical conclusion.
Yes.
I've noticed as well. Like if 65% of the graduates are women, well, that's going to have a profound effect on men's earning capacity,
Correct.
dumb bitch. But they can never connect the two for some odd reason.
Yes, but it doesn't matter because that bottom third of men or bottom quartile of men, they're invisible to
Absolutely.
them. But not only visible, they're non-people. This is another thing, and I didn't mean to get too far off topic. We all see grandma. If grandma is on the side of the road, even though she is not a viable sexual option, if grandma's on the side of the road, we stop and we help her change the tire. Why? Because our ancestors protected the tribe, not just the fertile women. We protected the entire tribe. What happens with really attractive women, I do this all the time. I go to Toca Madera every time, and I sit there with them, and the waiter will, the busser, it's not the waiter or the manager, the busser will come and fill up our drinks or whatever, and I'll wait a couple minutes, and I'll literally say to them, do you know that women have a hard time even seeing men that they're not attracted to? And the girl always says, no, that's not me. I was like, cool. Tell me about our busser. And they're always like, we have a busser? Wait, I don't understand. They remember the manager. He's a tall, good-looking guy. They absolutely remember him. But that's the difference. It's because women don't even know they exist. There's a male loneliness problem. Not any guys I know. Brock, the bartender who fucked me last week, he's not happy. He's not lonely because that's all they see.
It's so incredible.
Yeah, 99% of women say they dated a narcissist. No, maybe you dated a guy who has
Mike,
boundaries.
options.
Like 4,000 fucking women, dude, that I've talked to. It's so fucking nuts to me. No matter education level, religion, class, where they come from, it doesn't matter. Like most men are fucking invisible mosquitoes.
Yes.
And not only do they not see you, they look at you as an inconvenience in their life. And if you got fucking swatted away, they would not care. And I try to drill this in guys' fucking heads. Dude, women don't give a fuck about you. Like you literally have to stand out head and shoulders above everyone to even get a chance.
And then they really give a fuck.
Then they really.
And then,
But
yeah,
you're
it
trying to say
turns-
something, Jake.
I was going to say about the brain rot. I reckon the best example of it that I've ever seen is on your show when you ask them to name 3 countries and they can't do it. And these bitches will say, Africa. Like, I'm actually impressed about how they go their whole life and avoid that information.
Do you understand that they're not doing that because they don't have the mental horsepower to understand 3 countries? It's because it's not useful to their worldview.
Yeah.
It isn't. To put on makeup and to look pretty, for my prime directive, it to be attractive as I can to as many high status males as possible. It is not important.
Yeah, but just
to
like
me to
that
look where
level of
Luxembourg is.
information, like
Yeah.
I
And
actually
have a
don't know how they
master's
have.
degree. And
it
they'll have
matters.
degrees, dude.
How do they
They'll
not
be
know
educated.
it? Like, how do they actually avoid
Well,
it?
are
Like,
they
if I went
really
a
educated because
year
they have a degree,
and
though?
tried to not
Yeah,
learn
they're
3
still retarded,
countries,
but
if I went a year and I had a factory reset and then tried to go a whole year of my life without understanding 3 countries, I don't think I'd be able to do it.
no.
I'd have to know 3 countries.
Well, no one's coming to save you either. That's the
Yeah.
reason why.
Well, yeah, true.
To the TikTok thing.
was
By the way, whoever
Yeah,
put the
it's
light
nuts.
cigarette in my mouth from the
Did you notice that you're double parked
You're
with
double
cigarettes?
handed.
Yeah, it's a light. Yeah, but light cigarettes really. But anyway,
AI thinks you smoke
yeah,
a
they
lot.
think I smoke light. But, so back over to TikTok. We're talking when you're saying when they get bored they can swipe.
Mm.
One thing I think that you're alluding to there too is also things that upset them they can swipe away.
Yes.
Things that make me upsetty spaghetti I can swipe away. Things that I don't like I can swipe. You know what I mean? It's not just boredom. And what you find is when you go on to various TikTok panels, and I've been on hundreds and hundreds of them during TikTok invasions, right? And so as many people in the audience who participate, if they don't like your voice, they mute you away. Okay, it's the same exact thing. I don't like what I'm hearing. I don't have to hear it anymore.
It's a proxy for woke. Just overall woke.
The,
Like TikTok
the entire
allows
thing,
the wokeness.
the entire thing is thing I don't like needs to go away. And what did I say earlier to tie this all back in? When the progressive strategy of removing all conservative ideology away has worked.
Yeah.
Until now.
You know, this is another part I want to bring up. Let's just say we're all wrong about everything we believe in this room. You still
Jake.
want
Yeah.
you still
We're all wrong.
let's just say hypothetically we're completely wrong because I'm sure there's some
Jake
people
away.
who feel that way. If we're wrong about everything in this room, remember we're the ones that are proponents of free speech. Part of free speech is when you have an incredible idea that comes out of nowhere. Part of free speech or freedom of expression or freedom of assembly allows you to build an incredible company full of people, and that company can build incredible technological advances. But part of free speech is listening to a politician say something fucking stupid so you don't vote for him. Stupid speech is such an important part of free speech. People saying ignorant things on the internet.
Yeah.
I don't want them to. There's people who want me dead and say horrible things about me and my family and say that I was never in the military and all kinds of shit about me. And I don't even want them deplatformed because their stupidity then allows for me to know, hey, I really like this guy. I thought he was base, but then I find out he believes the earth is flat. I don't want to vote for him. Like, that's essentially what happens. So dumb
like
speech is
short of physical violence, right? Or things like swatting, stuff like that. I don't really think that there's much you should get deplatformed.
Yeah.
for.
Yeah.
It
I
doesn't there's just not much.
These teas that want to take over, let them have a platform.
Yeah.
Like, don't ban them.
The thing is that honestly, most of the time, those people only end up with cult followings anyway. It's the deplatforming that gives the kind of appearance that I know the secret truths. And I know the secret truths because I've been removed from all of society. And the truth is like a lot of these people, if you had just left them platformed, would have fucked themselves out of their own. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You didn't even have to worry about it to begin with.
It's kind of similar to like socialism and capitalism. Socialism pretends that everybody's equal and doesn't just says, we're going to fuck everybody up and make the cream rise to the top, right?
Yeah.
Whereas capitalism's like, I want that idea to be fucked up because it's going to lose.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and not just that. I don't even get me started on socialism. Not understanding why people why people would not want access to capital is fucking crazy. It's the only way that people have been brought out of a caste system and poverty and
Because
everything. There's access to capital.
They don't know how to
York's gonna
raise
be a
capital.
test
That's
case.
why.
Can we talk about this? You're a certified hater of democracy. I didn't hear any. I don't have any other context. I know you hate democracy. What does that mean?
Well, our founders hated democracy. And they not only hated it, but they really didn't want anybody to vote. People don't realize that you didn't get to use to vote on a president. That wasn't a thing. You didn't get used to vote basically on anything. And there was good reasons for that. And the primary reason for that is because they thought that people were too stupid to vote. They were uninformed and they were fucking dumb. And they didn't have the requisite knowledge to participate in politics. And they assumed that what would happen was we would end up with a partied system, and that partied system would polarize the public, and that polarization would lead to the decrease in individualistic rights. And guess fucking what? Guess what happened?
Sounds so familiar.
Guess what happened? And so,
terms kick the can down.
the thing is that I believe in a system which democracy itself. I think all forms of government, whether it's a monarchy, it's an autocracy, whatever, all of them can work depending on the ethics of the population. Okay. But democracy itself, the reason why limiting it is such a good idea is because it stops a couple of things that are really big problems. One is NGOs. It stops those in a big way. Okay. It stops the idea of being able to take different voting blocks and ascribe bribes to them, right, based on what NGOs want in order to move them towards one political party or the other. And the reason you have so much budgetary inflation is because all politicians are trying to steal money to bribe the electorate.
Yes.
And they're always trying to bribe different parts
Shout
of the
out to
electorate.
New York and their new mayor.
Yeah, they're all trying to bribe different parts of the electorate. And so the better system, and this was the founder's system, was that you had to have some kind of stake, just some stake in the game. They thought that property ownership and then limiting it to Christians was the better way. Okay, that was a better way. Now we have an ethical standard and we have a financial standard of skin in the game. This created a very patriarchal society, and it was very, very, very stable. What expanding suffrage did, they expanded suffrage to 18-year-olds. 18, they're so fucking stupid. It's like,
I've literally never heard a good argument for why they should vote.
Why would you ever want an 18-year-old to vote against me? Why would you ever want that?
Why would you want some university student?
That's the dumbest thing in the world. So I would just propose this, even if you don't agree with the democracy stance. Let's raise the voting age at least to the age of when you can be president. If we can't trust you to be president of the United States,
35.
if we can't trust you to be the president of the United States, then why should we trust you to vote for him? You know, if you're not informed enough to even if we don't trust that you're not of a ripe enough age to represent us, why should we allow you to vote to pick my fucking representative?
I think the compromise might be 25. So the age that you can run to be a representative,
No,
but
make it
also
35.
because at 25, at least, that's old enough to get a bachelor's and master's degree, or you've served in the military for a certain period of time.
Yeah,
But
I don't think
35.
I don't think that military service is a good requisite. For instance, you can be a foreigner and serve in the military. That happens often, right? People from Chile do this all the time, and they don't actually get citizenship just because they served in the U.S. military. Interestingly enough, I don't think that military service in and of itself would be enough. I think that you would have to add a bunch of different criteria.
Okay, to be able to vote.
To be able to vote, I think that there needs to be an age restriction. I think there needs to be some sort of stake in the game. One good proposal is that you are paying more in taxes than you're getting out.
Oh, okay, got it.
Right. So if you are a net drain, which most people are,
Mhm.
most people are a net drain, you don't get to
Especially the
vote.
blacks.
Yeah, you don't. I mean,
Sorry,
you
I
don't get
had
to
that in
vote.
there, like, you know what I
And
mean?
the thing is people.
Some people forgot Byron was on the show.
They're in the chat calling this a
Especially the blacks.
plan meeting already.
Yeah.
People often say, "Well, you want to take away women's rights to vote," and it's like, no, not. I want to take away almost everybody's right to vote because voting rights, for one thing, are affirmed in the negative. There is no actual right to vote in the Constitution. There's just the right that if a vote is held, you can't be barred from voting.
Yeah,
it's not that you have some right to vote. You don't, and most rights are affirmed in the negative. The very idea here, basically, is that we want to remove from the electorate people who are problematic. They're social eaters. They figured out that collectively you can draw resources to yourself which are unearned from a small collective which now can't fight back because you just simply outnumber them in votes.
Yeah.
That our founders would like fucking lose their shit on thinking about the fact that you could have 50 guys over here who have worked their asses off to attain a bunch of resources. And if there's 53 people over here who haven't, they could just vote all those resources to themselves. That's fucking crazy and should never be allowed to happen. And so what we want to do is we want to cut down NGO special interests and the bribing of the electorate. Once the electorate realizes they can vote themselves, resources, we're fucked. And the electorate now knows that they can. And the politicians are in a massive grab bag with them. How do we pull from the public trough? It doesn't even matter about debt in order to bribe this voting bloc to vote for me so that I can achieve political power. And they never have any stake. They never have to put up a fucking dime. Yeah. And it's like, that's an atrocious system and it's going to fail. By the way, that system's going to fail.
I agree that restrictions definitely need to be put on voters. I mean, obviously you have a lot more restrictions than like some of us would have, but I agree that the way that we allow voting now, where we literally have morons coming in and voting, like they don't even know policy, like women, for example, notorious single issue voters. Who's going to let me kill babies and be a whore? I'm voting for him. Typically Democrats. Ridiculous, right? That's just an example.
Well, you can win elections on slogans.
Yeah.
Literal slogans on one single issue. One single issue is your slogan.
Propaganda is much easier to do now with social media. But like the only way to get, I think what you're talking about to happen is you have to fail, right? Because otherwise you need a revolution. Like you either need a revolution or failure of a system in order for it to change.
In order for the democracy to fail.
You know, this is the big problem with this. So I've heard this before. It's kind of doomer pilled, right?
Well, I mean, it's not necessarily, it's just like, what do you call it?
It needs to collapse before it can be rebuilt. Yeah, it has to collapse first, rebuilt. But people forget.
Kind of like a fat person, right? They're not going to get in shape till they realize they're really fat.
But one thing that can happen and is happening is Renaissance. We're having finally an actual Renaissance in this country.
Yeah, but you have that revolutionary change.
To deal with this
but hang on, you got two options. You got revolution and you got Renaissance.
But isn't Renaissance part of the revolution?
No, it's not. Well, it is. I guess you could say it's more of a social revolution rather than a like physical revolution or something like this.
Maybe a peaceful revolution.
And it's more limited in scope, right? So you can have a Renaissance just based on technology, and while the social order is changing, not necessarily the moral fabric is changing or things like this, which usually a revolution will change almost everything. And I think we are beginning to experience the beginning stages of Renaissance. The idea is people are stun locked when it comes to violence. They fucking abhor it in this country. What happened to Charlie Kirk? Like every side, Fuentes, who was his nemesis, gave this heartfelt, like, man, you could tell he was shook. You could tell he was shook.
I was supposed to debate the next day in North Carolina.
Yeah, I mean,
cancel my shit. Like,
I could tell he was shook. And the thing is, like, people abhor violence, and so what's left to you is Renaissance. And it's like, well, how do we fix this? We're not ready for the democracy question yet. I'm way ahead of my time on this. Okay, but I was way ahead of my time on on birth rates too. I was talking about that when people were laughing at me, and now they're like, "Whoa, okay, he was right about that." But what will happen is this conversation: how is it that we can have an electorate that's so divided That's the question. And it's because it's bribed. It's a bribed electorate.
Yeah,
And
it's bribed through propaganda.
And so once we start answering the question of how are they bribed, well, you can't fill people's money, or you can't put money in people's pockets from propaganda itself. You have to have money.
You can give them social clout.
Yeah, you can give them social clout, but you need to have money itself. And once we ask the question, how are these people bribed? What we're going to find out is that they're bribed in two ways. The first way is through think tanks and NGOs, and they work specifically with politicians to identify segments of the population which can be bribed, and then they tailor the message to that segment of the population, deliver it, and then in exchange for that vote, deliver the bribe.
Sounds like propaganda to me.
Well,
think tanks are one of the
course.
most political think tanks are some of the most pernicious fucking institutions in America that have put us in perpetual wars, put us in very problematic areas. Like think tanks, like not enough people talk, because like unless you're in the political sphere, most people in America don't even know what the fuck is a think tank.
Right.
Well, think tanks are what get us put into war, because these are guys that are planners, the outliners, writing all this shit up, and then they go and get, like you're saying, then they use here's our policy.
Yep.
Then they get the money behind it, and then
not just think tanks, it's non-government organizations who will utilize all of the data and this and that. That's what the think tanks draw from. Then they get money men, and the money men bribe that portion of the electorate. And usually the reason that they're doing it. So you ask, like,
these are
why?
unelected bureaucrats that write this shit.
Yeah, they ask, why do you do that? Well, here's why they do that. Because they make a pre-deal with the politician who's running, and they say, look, we'll fund your campaign, but when you're writing the next tax law to bribe this portion of the electorate, I want this loophole, this loophole, this loophole, this loophole, this loophole put in for my buddies, right? That's not a system of governance of the people and by the people.
And it's so obscure, no one's going to even notice.
That's a system.
It's like,
well, and they'll attach it to as earmarks and all kinds of shit, right?
Yeah, people don't notice until the ships fail.
Yeah. And the thing is that these bills are vast, thousands and thousands of pages. The average person can't understand any of them. You don't know what's embedded in them.
They don't even
there's loopholes and everything else. And so here's the thing. How do we take that away? We have to take away the bribable electorate to begin with. And in order to do that, we have to have a bunch of things change. One, I would say voting shouldn't even be done unless you have a family, right? I would say unless you're married with children, you shouldn't even be considered for voting. Okay, period. I would also say that you would have to have some stake in the game, property ownership, something like this would be necessary. I would say that there needs to be age restrictions, and there needs to be some sort of demonstration based on public service that you understand the electorate system.
But to get that big of a change to actually happen, though, is what I'm saying, right? Like, because there's so many people that are incentivized to not have
all that takes that change to happen is what happened with Roe v. Wade. If we have Supreme Courts who look at precedents when it comes to voting, like 19th Amendment voting, things like this, and they say, actually, this doesn't mean what you think it means. It doesn't mean that you're entitled to an election, only that if an election happens, you're entitled to vote in it, right? So there are various ways that can be combated even without collapse. Over time, people start looking at various issues which are becoming popular. Abortion was very popular. We won. Speech has been very popular. We won. We haven't gotten to the corruption yet. We haven't gotten to the bribing of the electorate yet. We haven't moved there yet. But in the next 5 years, 10 years, we are going to move towards that conversation. And then that's when the ideas of solution at the local level begin. And those tend to expand out, just like abortion did. It started with the states. The states are outlawing it. Now we move to the federal ban, right?
Going to the different stages of acceptance, right? There's a lot of people who have no clue because they believe that the government's still voting, still in their favor and everything, right? So in terms of the first thing, it's denial, right? So they hear that information, they're like, no, I think that's like the current stage. And then the next stage is acceptance. So going from that stage to that stage, I think is going to be the hard part for most people.
Do you want to know what terrifies me, man?
Yeah.
Like as you bring this up, what terrifies me more than anything, what gives me the nightmares? And this is what I know is going to happen. See, if a socialist comes along, an articulate socialist, and he gives us all our social issues, that he says, you know what, you're right. No more gay marriage. That's done. The trans stuff, you're never going to have to worry about it again, right? And he gives us a bunch of the social things that social conservatives want. And then he says, in exchange for that, I want my economic policies in there. I think he would win in a fucking landslide.
Especially,
and you know what?
Too.
I think that not only would he win, but get the economic policies in, like universal healthcare, things like that.
Right.
And then the next socialist would come in and just take away all of that social
Yeah,
rollback.
we've had this chat before about
Yeah,
like the
and then
left
push it
wing
out.
populist, like
The left-wing populist is what I fear.
The left wing candidates at the
That's
moment
really
are no
interesting.
good.
Yeah.
The only thing that's kept us from that and is woke. And that's the one benefit we've had that nobody ever talks about is that because they're tied to the absurd social issues like transing the kids and shit, they're so tied to that as part of their identity, they can't move off of it. But man, if one of them ever fucking figures out I can move off of that and give the social conservatives what they want in exchange for my economic policies, and he's a populist, we're fucked.
It kind of does exist already because you really do have guys like Jackson Hinkle and Haz Aldine and these sorts of guys who, I mean, all of the Democrat politicians at the moment, they're laughable. They're useless. They're incompetent and all of that. But those guys,
well,
they're a tougher night at the office.
Yeah, well, and that's why the middle class is so important, right? And that's getting eroded away right now because when you get people who are poor, they will become more desperate and then they'll vote for it. Not anything, but almost if it like gives
universal basic.
A center left populist is very dangerous. That's sensible, right? Like that handles like a lot of the culture issues. Like, yeah, there's two genders. Yeah, like that's fucking dangerous.
Well,
because
the big key for him, for whoever the social populist is one issue: mass migration.
Yeah,
he comes in and he says, "I'll eliminate mass migration because I think it's like Bernie Sanders said, a Koch brothers conspiracy." Right-wing conspiracy to bring in cheap labor. So no more mass migration. That motherfucker's in office tomorrow because the most unpopular policy globally is mass migration. And that guy, if he says, and in exchange for that, I want universal health care, UBI, and a bunch of other social, he's fucking in.
And because he's going to come in from, I hate to say it, but Mustache Man precisely did that. That's what Mustache Man did. Came in with a nationalist perspective. We got to get these motherfuckers out. No more immigration. We run our country. You guys will all get houses. We're going to have cheap affordable cars. That's how the Volkswagen came in.
And the highway, the national highway system.
The national highway system. That's how we took Germany from poorest ever to in the 1930s to one of the most powerful nations in the world.
They were so poor and so desperate at that point. They were willing to listen to that.
Yeah. And he had those conservative viewpoints with the socialist angle.
I got to tell you,
that's dangerous, dude.
We are ripe for the socialist populists to come in, say no more mass migration. And if that's the one issue he says,
you're right.
That's it.
That's dangerous.
That's it.
Because you've taken one of the strongest positions that conservatives have. A lot of conservatives in the last election voted for immigration and
not just that. The UK, right? If a UK populist socialist came out and said no more mass migration, same shit.
Yeah.
Right. Because it's globally, it's the most unpopular thing in all Western nations is mass migration.
Now.
People hate it. They loathe it. They don't want any more of it.
Yep.
And every year they hate it more than they did the last year. That's
dude, some guys listening right now. Like,
I know.
Fuck, this
I know. But here's the thing.
No, but you're right, dude. That would be
that's
you're
my warning. But that's my warning,
from the right. You're literally taking. I'm going to give you guys health care. Don't worry. You guys will be able to afford to go to the doctor. And I'm going to get rid of these goddamn immigrants. And we're going to have this stuff. And
you're done. For us. You're done.
And we're going to nationalize all of that.
If the Bernie Sanders comes in, who's not Bernie Sanders, and just says no more mass migration, okay? It's a Koch brothers right-wing conspiracy to get underpaid labor in here. We want strong trade unions for our people here in the U.S., period. And I want that policy. He's in.
Yeah,
and he overwhelmingly they'll vote him in. And my warning here is that that's what's coming.
Well, in New York.
Well, no, let me tell you. You know what?
Yes, it is.
I literally said this like a month ago. I said if Mamdani wins, be ready. The DNC is going to employ his strategy in the 2028 election. He fucking won. The Democrats now have a game plan on how to win elections. Namely, they had a handicap. It's New York City. Republicans don't do so well over there. Fine. But now they have an actual tangible win to put under their belt. That's why a lot of these fucking guys, Hassan Abi and all these guys, fucking celebrating. Yes, we got it. Because New York City is the most influential city. And he was able to win a lot of even conservatives over to come over. And obviously he's saying the immigrant thing, but if you get a socialist like a Mamdani that says, oh yeah, by the way, we're not bringing these fucking immigrants in.
No, in fact,
there's
a moratorium. There's going to be a moratorium.
There's a moratorium. I'm a Christian. We're not bringing in any of these motherfuckers anymore. Dude,
it's over.
It's over.
But then the question becomes,
and he's white.
Right.
It's over.
He would. I don't even think
It's
I
really
don't
over.
even think he would have to be white.
He wouldn't have to be. No.
If it was the case that he said no more mass migration, it's never going to happen, and I have the influences of both houses, they're willing day one to sign this bill in, and it gives us an immigration moratorium day one. That fucker's in,
Yeah.
and they're going to get all their social programs.
Because he
And
took
then
the strongest position from the GOP right there with
Yeah.
immigration.
Well,
That's what got Trump in. Like people
Of
forget.
course.
They're in against
so
the
what you're
dogs.
saying is people are more for ending mass migration than they are
They will
against
they'll give
mass
anything.
socialized medicine.
People
then-
will
but
give
then what happens
anything to
after
stop
that?
mass
Yeah.
migration.
Yeah.
Because
So,
you're
what
getting
happens after that?
you're
right?
getting conservatives and
The
the
thing that I
and the
said before.
Democrats.
Yeah,
to
of
vote
course.
for you
I
now.
know.
Well,
I see
that
what
would
you're
be
saying.
collapse.
But like the
Yeah.
negative part
I hope
of
the
raising
Renaissance is
taxes
coming.
is not as
I'm
upsetting.
doubtful, man.
I want the Renaissance. I'm just telling you that scenario is collapse.
'Cause-
That leads to
well,
collapse.
that's what I'm saying is because when you get to that scenario, let's look at New York as a microcosm, right? New York in the 70s and 80s had like the biggest crime problems, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
In the 90s, they got that fixed.
Because they
after-
aborted everybody.
Right. And then
I'm serious. That's what happened.
And then
They
after
aborted
that-
Yeah,
everybody.
there's data on this. Yeah.
And then after
Yeah,
9/11
Giuliani went really hard on crime in the 90s.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And then after 9/11, things started to slip a little bit, right? And if they have this guy in power and he does start doing these things, and people are at the beginning, oh, this is hunky dory, this is nice. And then they start to see, like, oh, no, it still does favor certain groups of people. They get mad, they start getting violent, right? What happens first in that type of scenario is that you get organized crime comes up and starts actually having some success because people don't want to follow that system at some point. Right. And then you have to have that new system. So I'm saying that in between.
Well, that's what
Easy on
happened in this
crime.
city.
Easy
This
on
city
crime.
was essentially run by the mafia. There's a point.
I wish
where-
it was.
Well, and
Still,
that's-
I wish it still was.
That's what I'm saying.
There's a
People
point.
will say that.
Casinos are run by the mafia.
Exactly.
There's-
I wish it still was.
There were crime sprees that started happening in the 1990s, or like from the 1970s and 1990s. Once the mafia moved out, and then there's this point where the Las Vegas Police Department is not big enough to police the city, and then all of a sudden, then after there's this crime wave, this one guy robbed 6 casinos at one time. It's a really, really crazy story. And then once publicly traded companies start taking over, then that power vacuum is now brought in a new tax base.
Right. And then the people get used to that kind of situation, right? And they're good with it. But like that's what I'm saying is like going from one extreme to another is what happens. Then people are like, we don't want any of that. And then they have to bring in a new
No, I
system.
agree.
But it takes a whole generation.
I agree.
It takes-
What I'm talking about Renaissance is the slow social move, which can turn into a large burn quickly.
Right.
Right. And usually these are over technological changes, or they're over huge
Like AI.
social changes. And you can see renaissances happen very, very quickly.
Yeah, AI could be a huge catalyst for that.
Like 10 years.
Could be.
Because it can educate people.
Could be.
Could be.
But before we run out of time, I have to ask you about this because
I got one more super chat, but go ahead.
This might be the funniest position you have. You are not opposed to men and women's sports. Can you explain why?
Okay. Yeah.
I've heard this take
I
a
know
few
you like
times.
this one.
Yeah.
Well, here's
It's
the
a nice
thing.
reminder.
Yeah, here's the
To
thing.
women.
I think that it's a great reminder that 12-year-old soccer players can beat professional teams who are female, and it's a great reminder to them that the patriarchy is benevolent, and it reminds them of just the disparity between the strength levels of men and women. When you see 13-year-olds, 14-year-olds kick the shit out of these women in their own sports leagues, and then when fully grown men just put on a wig and go out there and crush them, and women were the ones who voted for that shit. I say take your medicine. You voted for the shit. You wanted all the transgender shit, and now they're in your sports. I say let them deal with it. And you know what? It's the radical turf feminists, the trans exclusionary feminists, still radical feminists.
Yep.
They're like, no, this is for women. And I'm like, look, fuck them. You wanted all these women to vote, and they voted for this shit.
Yep.
And now you're getting your heads kicked in. You're getting your asses kicked. You're getting wrecked by everybody. Right? Men just go in, they put on a wig, they kick the holy shit out of you.
And
They break your
feminism was the
face.
Trojan horse from which the T community came in.
Yeah, they break
Feminism
your
was the
yes,
spearhead.
exactly. They break your face, and it's like deal with it. And what we need is women collectively. And I say,
got to get Aaron Clary on.
I
this.
say continue.
This
I say
podcast.
continue. Don't no mercy on this until women collectively vote it out.
Yeah,
Because that's the only way they fucking learn.
So I thought about it at first when you said it, and then I was like, yo, what if they let men in the WNBA and they just started killing everyone? Like without just getting punched on constantly.
Step,
and then I'd be like, yo, I would the first trans
Isn't the
person to get
dildo
the
shit
WNBA
the funniest shit in the world in the WNBA? They just throw the
Made a
dick.
fortune betting on it.
Do you understand the kind of numbers I would watch that? The first trans person.
Well, if
in
there was men in the
WNBA,
sport, it would
just
make it watchable.
Well, the
crushing
thing
everyone.
is
First
like,
dunk ever.
it's like for men, it's no worries, right?
Yeah.
You're never going to see female linebackers, right?
Yeah.
Like
There is no rule
the
in the
F to
NFL
M.
that women cannot.
Yeah,
play.
right. The F
there's
to
nothing
M.
on the books that they can't join.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, right.
But the F to M's, right? Sure. Come on into the sports leagues. Absolutely. I can't wait to see you get fucking snapped in half by these giant 600-pound fucking gargantuan monsters.
Yeah.
But women, well, you voted for it. Have fun with it because combat sports for men going to be just fine.
Yeah.
All of the contact sport for women, it's fucked.
Cooked.
And it's like that's what you fucking get.
Let me
Even
ask you
even
this,
chess is segregated.
Andrew, because you were mentioning Christianity in the United States, and I had like a big debate where I've been like going back, and you guys all know I'm Muslim, right? But I'm not a retarded goat fucker like these idiots, some of these guys, because like there's a difference between like sensible guys. Yeah. So like there's like sensible people, right, that are Muslim and that understand certain things, and there's the idiots that are low IQ. And I try to tell them, America's
Like
a
all
Christian
of
nation.
Pakistan.
Yeah, yeah.
Like all of it.
Yeah, pretty much. And I tell them, like, they get so pissed off at me. I had many debates. I say, America's a Christian country. We're guests here.
Yeah, I saw that debate. I saw that
the
debate
country.
with Sneeko.
Yeah,
so I had a chatter from your chat come in and ask me, would you be willing to have that same debate with Sneeko if Myron, hosted it because you have more knowledge on it? And actually, I'm open to that if you
Sure.
you
I
ever
mean,
are.
I can make it. I don't, because the thing is like when I was having that discussion with Sneeko, he didn't really like debate my point so much as he would just ask me questions about like why I thought the way that I did. And I was like, look, this country was founded by white Christian men. Yeah. Like the separation, it's separation of church and state so that the state would not corrupt the church and vice versa. It wasn't the separation of church of mosque and state. Like this wasn't, and they always reference like, yeah, the Muhammad people or whatever, like they're allowed in too. That's true. But that doesn't mean that they want them to run the country and be the influence. They didn't expect people to be praying at Times Square and, being on loudspeakers saying like, we're going to take over and everything else like that. Like Christians have every right to feel threatened and be like, yo, this is our country. You guys are here as guests. We don't want this. And then the example I gave, because they got all butthurt when I said like the example about if you went to Mecca and tried this, they'd be mad at you. Okay, fine. Let's use another example. Let's use the United Arab Emirates, a very westernized, a westernized Arab country, Muslim country, right? 90% immigrants in Dubai. If a bunch of Christians, 100 Christians went to the Burj Khalifa, the tallest building in the world, and tried to pray, the police would tell them, get the fuck out of here, right? So I don't think it's appropriate for Muslims
you think
to be at
that's
Times
okay?
Square. What
and you as a Muslim are not offended by that? Oh, you think that's fine?
Well, yeah.
Well, I wouldn't mind it, but I know Muslims there would be like, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, but how is that not?
This is a westernized Muslim country.
Yeah.
By the way.
But how is this not a consistent position from you? Because you don't have a problem with the people in the United Arab Emirates saying that, right?
Yeah, no,
exactly. It's their country.
But they have a problem with me.
Right, they have a problem with you.
They get mad at me when I say, well, if you guys wouldn't tolerate this in one of the most westernized Muslim countries, why the fuck should Christians tolerate you guys praying in Times Square?
Right.
And they're like, well, we have freedom of religion for church and state, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, this is still a Christian country. Hosted a Christian country. I'm like, bro, when you swear in, you put your hand on a fucking Bible. You don't put your hand on a Quran.
but like again, let's extrapolate this even further. What would happen with mass immigration in China? Like they would forcibly kick you out.
Shut the
mass immigration. You extend your visa in Russia. What do to you? They forcibly kick you out. Let's extrapolate even further.
All we have to do is look at what happened with the Uyghurs, right?
Yeah. Let's take it even further. Voter ID. Well, for some reason, they're able to host free and fair elections in Norway, Sweden, Finland, Denmark, Germany, all these other countries. They have voter ID. But for some reason in this country, we can't do that because then it's not free and fair elections. So it's like, it's exactly what you said. You're using the idea of like, well, this is a Christian nation and these other people are guests. And if you went to that nation that was Islamic, then they would not accept it. It's the same kind of situation. It's like people who are sitting there. Look at how Mexico treats Nicaragua when those people try to come in illegally, but how, and then look at the way we treat Mexicans when they come in here illegally and just see the difference, like the massive difference.
And the other thing too is
our
like
benevolence is used as a weapon against us.
When I was having this discussion with Sneeko, and I want to get your take on it, Andrew, I'm just giving you my full position on it, and then you can add to it because you're obviously more knowledgeable about Christianity. Like, the thing I said, he made the argument. He said, well, this is the freedom of religion. Like we can practice here and all. I said, cool, you can practice, but why not just pray in the mosque? And the other thing is, just because you could doesn't mean you should. Right. And he's like, well, yeah, it's all a bunch of, them boys propaganda demonizing Muslims. And I said, I agree with you. There is a lot of propaganda from them guys against Muslims. So why would you exacerbate the problem and confirm the fucking stereotypes? Why would you do that when there's plenty of mosques all across New York City? Did you really need to pray in Times Square and be on the speaker and everything? Oh, well, they have church bells. Well, they can do that because this is their fucking country. Right. I don't think it's appropriate to have the adhan play 5 times in Dearborn, Michigan. I don't think that's appropriate.
Well, they're a bunch of hypocrites anyway. So
yeah, but I'll turn it to you, bro. Give your position
Muslims
on it. But these are the arguments I made, and they get so pissed off at me.
At the one hand, they'll say, "Oh, it's secular. You can't stop us from, from our religion." And then the other hand, if they have a secular institution like the public schools that they take advantage of and send their kids to, they go in and they say, "Oh no, you're not allowed to teach them A, B, C, D, and E." And we're going to stand firm against that inside of this secular institution.
The alphabet community.
Yeah, so they're like, they'll impose their will while at the same time claiming that there's a secular bridge which allows them to have the religion here. So it's like, you're fucking hypocrite. Shut up. That's all bullshit. The Christians are the only ones who are consistent on this, who'd say, when you're talking about separation of church and state, that was never the intention of our founders. They were saying there couldn't be a national religion, that the 10th Amendment governed that their states could have religions, which is why all the fucking states did have state religions after the Constitution was ratified. Almost all of them.
Just quickly, though.
They almost all had a state religion. Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that.
Almost every single state post the ratification of the Constitution, look it up right now, had a state religion. And by the way, if you weren't a member of that fucking religion, you couldn't vote. Even if you were a white person who owned property in good standing, you couldn't vote unless you swore that you were a member of that religion. And that's what the 10th Amendment was there for. Before that, we had the Articles of Confederation. The Articles of Confederation, that was a free-for-all, okay? It was a free-for-all. The states all adopted their own religion. They had trouble with interstate commerce, and they had trouble with rebellion. They had trouble raising troops. They settled on the Constitution so that there could be a federal government which could assist with those problems. The compromise was that the federal government wouldn't take one of those state religions and make it the national religion, thus stopping them from having their own religions. That's what the 10th Amendment was about. It was about states being allowed to have their own religion. So like these people are fucking illiterate, stupid, ahistorical retards.
Yeah. And the argument I made when I was saying, like I said, look, the Constitution and a lot of the, incorporating documents were based on the Bible, right? When you're sworn into a federal position or a government position for that matter, you're sworn in on the Bible. Like the reality is like a lot of the unalienable traits, a lot of the stuff comes from the Bible. Like, so to sit there and say this isn't a Christian country when it was founded by Protestants is ridiculous to me. And it's like,
of course it was. And by the way, you had thousands of contributors to the Constitution.
Their argument to me was this isn't a Christian country. That is the foundation that they had to debate on. I was like, you guys are fucking stupid.
And that's because there was famous court cases where it was the case, in fact, that we did allow some Muslims to come in a very small percentage. Okay. But we got to remember that we have to have a historical context of the time.
What was that? I think I know what's the name of that, like that agreement or that case law that you
I don't remember off the top of my head, but the thing is like, but we can look at the context of the time. The context of the time is these guys didn't feel threatened by a couple of Muslims coming to the nation. Okay. It wasn't a problem, right? Yeah. They were, and by the way, they usually weren't coming to stay long-term. The citizenship itself was a very rare thing for foreigners to have at this time. Mm-hmm. So when you're discussing this, let's keep in mind the historic standard that all of these people were English and French for the most part.
Yeah.
Almost every single one of them. They didn't even like Germans. They didn't like the Dutch. They didn't even like other white people. They definitely didn't like fucking Mohammedans. Okay. Yeah. They definitely didn't like
Mohammedans. Funny. That's what they called them.
Yeah. I mean, they didn't like them.
Yeah.
And it was very obvious that they didn't. And it wasn't just a bunch of deists that put this in as some secular fantasy so that we could all live together and sing Kumbaya. There was thousands of contributors to the Constitution, and most of them were Christians. So that's it.
So would you say, because this is what I was trying to argue as well. I was saying, look, this like removal of religion wasn't of like, saying that, oh, it's more secular, like removing the church and state. It was more about making sure that there weren't like Christian infighting versus allowing other religions to just come in and take over.
It was about allowing. So we had the Articles of Confederation before that. which
Okay.
was a free for all. It allowed each state to have their own religion.
Yeah.
They had their own currency. They could
But
govern.
it was all Christianity, right?
It was all Christian,
It was all
yes, of
Protestants,
course.
basically.
Some Catholic.
Yeah.
There was like
Yeah.
one Catholic.
But
Yeah.
that's still Christian.
Yeah.
Right.
Precisely.
So the thing
And that's
is,
what I was trying to explain to him. This was more
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
containing infighting within the church
and
versus
the Constitution was designed so that we had a currency and we could raise a single militia and we could actually defend all of the states.
Yeah.
You know, otherwise, how do you defend 13? It was like 13 independent nations, basically.
Right.
And so once we had the Constitution come into place, there was compromises which were made, like the Second Amendment, for instance, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep their arms shall not be infringed. Right? What does that put in there for? Well, it tells you, saying a well-regulated militia we know is necessary to the security of a free state because we have to call them before, right? But we may not be able to arm the militia. So the best way is to make sure that the people themselves can have arms so that they can be called anytime between these ages. And you can look up the Dick Act, and before the Dick Act, what they used to do is they would say, okay, you're 16 years old, you're in the militia. Okay,
Yeah.
we can call you up whenever we want. Now, moving past that, when you get into the 10th Amendment territory, right? Remember the First Amendment, this is saying there can't be a national religion. 10th Amendment says that everything in the Constitution, which is not given as the authority to the federal government, goes to the prospective states. It goes to the prospective states.
wait, say that again. All of the authority.
All the authority in this document, which we have not given and
Okay.
appropriated to the federal government,
Goes to the state.
goes to
Oh,
the
gotcha.
states.
Yeah,
The
of
states
course.
get to make their own policies for these things. Well, there was never any authority given to the United States government over the policy of states themselves being able to have their own religion. Right. And they almost all of them did post ratification of the Constitution. It took years to eliminate that. So it's like, no, he's wrong. It was set up as a Christian nation. And those are the historic facts.
All right, guys.
No,
Let
that's
me get
more
back to this
detailed.
one. I got one more
Sure.
for you.
No.
I don't think we can do 3 of these, but can everyone around the table name 3 great books to read? None of your own, please. Thank you. Let's just do one.
I got 20. Go ahead, Myron. What do you think?
Shit.
Or 3, whatever you want.
I'm trying to go to Jake. I'm thinking.
I'd say Mere Christianity is a good one. Orthodoxy and the Religion of the Future, and also The Tragedy of Great Power Politics by Mearsheimer.
Mein Kampf.
There we go. Michael.
There it is.
There he is. We've been waiting for him all day.
Yeah.
Clanosphere.
Yes. It's written by the Austrian painter. Go ahead.
On resistance to evil.
Okay.
The history of philosophy. And of course, my favorite book, The Hobbit.
But the
Oh, there we go.
Durant.
You know what? I have to. Hey, Andrew, this is what
The
they
history
threw
of
at me
philosophy.
too. Look at the 1797 Treaty of Tripoli. Some idiot gave me that shit too.
Yeah, Tripoli.
We can scroll up. They're saying, oh, it's not a Christian nation because of they use that
The
as
Treaty
well.
of Tripoli. Yeah.
Yeah.
He
What
was
is
fighting
your?
against the Barbary pirates?
Yeah.
So the thing
That was
is-
more about appeasing pirates,
Yeah.
right?
Well,
Like,
well, actually, there's more to it. So this was just a letter. They're just referencing a letter.
okay.
That's it. And in the letter, it said that there's a wall of separation between the church and the state. This was something that which was very famously stated. But the Treaty of Tripoli itself, right, has no bearing on the 10th Amendment at all. And by the way, this conventionally had nothing to do with the Constitution of the United States, but was just a single person's interpretation. So it's like, what is the Treaty?
I'm glad someone in the chat put that there.
What in the Treaty of Tripoli changed the Constitution?
Yeah,
exactly.
I mean, you're talking about something that we had between Syria. Like
It came up a million times during
Yeah,
my
it's-
discussion.
what?
and I was
Like,
like, what the fuck
what
is
in
this?
what in it changed any sort of policy in the United States when it came to the U.S. Constitution? Nothing. By the way, post Treaty of Tripoli, I think that there were still states that had state religions. I think there was clear up until when was the last state shrug it off? What was it? I don't even think it was terribly long ago. Like, I mean, there has been states with religions for an awful long time in this
I
nation.
believe it. I
Yeah.
believe it. There's lots of state laws that like never got like in Texas. If you steal a cow, you can be put on death row for that.
Yeah.
It's still a
Steal
capital
a
crime.
horse.
Like yeah,
Steal a horse. It was hangable.
yeah. That's
you
why
know?
the funny story. That's why the Texas Rangers were created because of cow stealing.
Yeah, I don't remember the.
They don't like when you say that. Though.
I don't-
and killing Comanches and
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I wish I
Native
had
Americans.
the.
That was what
Well, those
Texas
guys are the worst Native Americans, Comanches.
Yeah, I wish I had the reference because I don't remember when it was that the last state shrugged off the actual like
State
this
religion?
is the state religion.
Yes.
I
No,
need
and
to look
I
it up.
appreciate that, Andrew, because like I had my position, but I didn't think about the 10th Amendment and like look into it like that, because that no one ever talks about that stuff, because this is a topic that people don't really want to touch on, because like it's controversial to say America's a Christian country nowadays, and obviously Muslims get mad
Even
when I
though
say that.
nobody questioned that for hundreds of years.
Yeah.
Nobody.
But like now it's a
Yeah.
controversial take.
That's a big deal. What's your 3 books?
My 3 books are going to be Buy Back Your Time by Dan Martell. I'm going to say The One Thing by Gary Keller, and probably I would say The Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink. Those would be the 3
There you
books.
go. 48 Laws of Power. That'd be one for me.
Hey, retards in the chat that are saying it's not a Christian country, please tell us how it's not. Instead of saying
The latest state to disestablish its official religion was Massachusetts in 1833.
Yeah. So that's 1833. Awful long time after the fact, huh?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they're saying not a Christian country, and they're not telling
Now,
us
when
why.
was the Treaty of Tripoli?
17 something?
yeah.
Yeah, someone put it like 1790.
Wait a second. That's awful strange. That's awful strange. I thought that disproved that we could have state religions that were Christian, and yet we have a state religion that's Christian after that. I'm very confused.
Yeah, it's
3 books. Miguel, go.
Why women deserve less.
great book.
Very good book.
Part 2 coming out soon. Why women deserve even less.
Even-
Me and Aaron
Even
are
less.
working on it now.
Atomic Habits and the Bitcoin Standard.
Nice. Yeah, I'd go with Reminiscences of a Stock Operator, The Sovereign Individual, and Turning on Machines, which is a new book about AI.
There you go.
There you go.
Let's get out of here.
Okay. Hey, man, thank you guys for joining us. There's 2,000 people
Myron
watching,
said
which is a
Minecraft.
lot for us.
I got 220. I got almost 3 grand on me right now.
Yeah.
So,
3 guys on Rumble.
combined.
Yeah, I didn't
Yeah.
even go live on mine because I came in like I didn't know.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't want to mess up your guys'
I
stream.
think
So.
so.
But I'll repost it though. I'm gonna.
Crucible's live right now.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Beautiful, man. So I want to thank you guys for joining us. Hey, we want to, if you completely disagree with everything we're saying, we want to open up free debate. We want to end the gatekeeping, and we want, freedom of expression, regardless of whether or not you disagree with us. That's what I fought for when I was in the U.S. military. And so for those of you who just want us canceled, they want us to go away. You tried, you failed. And the other part that I was going to mention is that we on the right have developed an apparatus because we've been canceled and because we did debate so much. And the people on the left, because you kept running away, you're not prepared for it now because you did not develop the same calluses that we have being yelled at and screamed at, and in some cases shot while we were giving a speech. We have developed the calluses, and so now it's going to be much, much, much more difficult to deal with people in an open arena of ideas when we've been practicing for a while, because we didn't ask you to get canceled, but you asked us to get canceled, and it didn't work. Cool.
There it
Anything
is. Next week we will be here November 12th
Yes.
with all girls.
Yeah,
Again.
bringing back the incredibly highly intelligent 23-year-old women. That
It
are
won't
coming
be a
here.
sausage fest.
It'll be
Maybe I'll come out for it.
Yeah, you go.
There you go.
Also, DebateCon. Come to DebateCon.
Come to
Grab your
DebateCon.
tickets. Modern day
Jack,
debate.
Jake the Rattlesnake. Where can we find you?
Rattlesnake TV on YouTube, and I host the Extravaganza 4 times a week with this knucklehead on Rumble. On the
Beautiful.
Crucible. And
You
that's
promote
about it.
Australian feminism.
Oh, I love it. It's
Yeah,
my
love
life.
it. Is
It's
that-
my bread and butter.
Is that yes, incredible. Where can we find you guys?
You can find me at Dollar Cost Crypto, and we'll be doing the Crypto Mindset meetup in March.
There you go.
There you go.
Yep. You can find me at Cultivate Crypto on YouTube and on Twitter as well.
Beautiful.
And don't forget, Reignite.
Friday night.
There it is. Newbeck. This is yours, by the
Yeah,
way.
he dedicated it to Joe Marone and me, so now I have to fucking read
Yeah,
it.
now you
I
have to
have
read
to
it.
read the book.
Yeah.
now.
It'll be signed,
You
Roller.
didn't sign it.
Yeah, I will. I will. Okay, guys, we're out.
Where can we find you
Yeah,
before the end comes?
Fresh to Fit, Myron Gaines X on everything.
Yes.
I'm everywhere. YouTube, Rumble, Kick, Party. YouTube keeps censoring me, so I'm everywhere.
Okay, beautiful, man. Again, building a coalition in the dark, like you said before. You're still able to do that, man, because that's the innovation of free market capitalism. Rumble stepped in when other people weren't listening, and X changed their platform, and that's one of the great things about living in a free nation. So, since we're the last country in the world to be able to do this, let's make sure we protect it and with who we vote. And shout out to New York. Welcome to socialism.
God wants you to have the baby.
Definitely not.
You know, it's just crazy how like